Hello, everybody, and welcome to the South Australia election live stream 2026. I'm here with Aussie legend Tony Tonkin. Welcome to the stream, Tony.
Oh, it's nice to know I'm an Aussie. I'm an Aussie legend. I'm just an Aussie, and I'm an old fart, to be quite honest, Nathan. Thanks for having me on board, and I welcome your subscribers and people watching your channel and those people watching mine, and we'll monitor all comments that come through, because this is, as I always say on my channel, this is an opportunity to have a conversation, in this case with you and I, about this election and the importance that it has for politics around Australia, because this is the first time we've tested, isn't it? We've tested where
Absolutely.
One Nation are and the impact that they're going to have. So let's see what happens. It's an exciting night in a way. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm so glad that we can do it together, because you, being someone who lives in South Australia, can provide some specialized knowledge, because me being in Victoria, I'm more anticipatory about the Victorian election in November. And I do think even Pauline Hanson's saying it herself, that this is the One Nation sort of test to see if they can convert the hype into votes. Because, we've seen in the UK, the Reform Party, which is a little bit like One Nation and MAGA in America, is starting to dip in the polling. They've sort of gone past their peak, whereas One Nation keeps rising. So it's really interesting to see if that will translate into votes and seats tonight. Really interested to see how that goes.
And one of the reasons why Reform are doing so poorly is there's so much controversy about the type of people that they're suggesting be their candidates. As a result,
lucky that's not a case here, isn't it?
Yes. It is.
Was there something in the news, Tony? Should we cover that?
Yeah, there was something about a candidate for One Nation who was, it was revealed, was charged for assault of a woman in Britain. And it's an allegation, let's put it that way. And it had just been discovered, and he was decandidatized, or whatever de-elected. I don't know.
Yeah.
As a result. And there's been a few other people that have been from One Nation who have one earlier on, a month or so ago, who was disendorsed because he demonstrated that he was a racist. Surprise, surprise, surprise. So I think what we'll discover over time, particularly as we head towards the federal election in a couple of years' time, there'll be many candidates in their rush to get candidates. There'll be many candidates who will probably say, well, you're not really good enough for us. Or there'll be candidates that the media will catch out simply because that's what the media does,
Yeah.
And the other thing I just need to say before we really get stuck into this is that the ABC have been kicked out of One Nation's headquarters tonight simply because they did a piece on this guy that I was just talking about, and they didn't like the fact that the news was reporting the news. So much for, as you said to me earlier, so much for free speech, eh?
Yeah, and look, let's go in open-minded, but it seems to be a bit of chaos, as I wasn't voting at back in the late 90s, but if people want to look into the history of One Nation, this is history repeating itself with the chaos around election time. That sort of happened around 1998, 2000. It sort of happened again Pauline, she got re-elected into the Senate, and there was a bit of controversy around that. So, that's sort of part of the brand, I guess. Maybe that's part of the appeal as well. I don't know if we're going to get any One Nation supporters tonight, but welcome if you're here. We're not trying to roast you. We're trying to understand.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great point, because in 1998, she won 8 seats there's only got one house in Queensland, because they're ahead of the curve. She didn't win a seat at all. So it was a Queensland 8 seats, which wasn't a majority, but certainly, it wasn't a majority in terms of an opposition, but she did. That was the best effort yet. And it wasn't soon after that she was caught out, because she wound up in jail for 10 days or so because of election fraud. So she has a very checkered history, to say the least, Pauline Hanson. And I guess over time maybe it will call her out. Who knows? I mean, maybe she's a reformed individual by now. We don't know.
Absolutely. Well, Should we turn our attention to the man of the moment, Peter Malinauskas, and maybe we'll start with Labor, because obviously I've got the charts here, so we'll go through some of the data as we talk. But do you want to start, Tony, as a South Australian? Peter Malinauskas was Labor got elected in 2022 in the past election because the Liberals were in power, or the coalition, back in 2018. So do you want to just give us a bit of a rundown? What's been happening in the state of South Australia in the last 4 years, and what's been the big political issues? And I think it's pretty fair to say, I don't know if we're sort of watching tonight to see if he'll be premier still after tonight. I think everyone sort of says he will based on the polling. But do you want to just maybe give us a rundown on why is he so popular? What's Labor offering?
Well, I think one of the reasons why, and my wife will attest to this, is he's an extremely good-looking dude.
I was just thinking that. So he's very photogenic. Yeah,
he is. So he has this sort of personality, I guess, that people do tend to like. Apart from that, I mean, he won the last election over the Liberal Party because the Liberal Party were going down the gurgler fast, I think. And the Liberal Party also have had a number of controversies in relation to some of the candidates being caught up in fraud. Another one was the leader of the Liberal Party was caught up in allegations with regard, and he's found guilty of, I think, taking cocaine. So that isn't a good look for the Liberal Party. They kind of lost their way, and while losing all of their way, Peter Malinauskas was able to sweep in because he's kind of like the sports guru in South Australia, if not Australia, because he's now been able to have the gather round, which is a footy round, which starts in a couple of weeks here. He's had what's the other things he's had? He's had Live Golf. He's looking at now, I think, getting some soccer matches here at some particular point. He's really, and he's got the motor race, the MotoGP, coming here next year, I think. So he's done all these wonderful things that people like in South Australia. You know, we're a sporting state, if you like, and we certainly like to beat the shit out of Victorians. So anything that we can, sorry about that, Nathan. So anything we can gather in terms of beating the crap out of Victorians, we will, and we see that as an accolade, I guess, that Peter Malinauskas has grasped. Also, at the same time, our state's doing pretty damn well, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
And in terms of employment, you know, we've got they're building boats here that sink, namely submarines. We're doing some interesting things. And, you know, the cost of living, I guess, is an issue for everyone around Australia, but probably less so here in South Australia. Housing, he's been able to boost housing as well. So he's got a number of ticks, apart from the fact that he's a pretty articulate dude and he looks good.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say that it's a rare thing for states in Australia, because I don't know all the specifics of each state, but I look at it we're in a very polarized world politically, and especially in Victoria with our premier, Jacinta Allen. And this isn't a Victorian special. We'll get to that in November. But I'm from a state currently, and if anyone watching is also Victorian, they will know that feeling of Jacinta Allen as a sort of inherited Daniel Andrews government, and it's equally, I would say, in parts loved and hated. There's not much in between. And I'm in a weird spot, because if anyone knows me or knows this channel, or if you're stumbling upon it, my whole name is the rightist leftist. I don't sit neatly in any kind of ideology. I think Labor is doing really well in Victoria on some things and not in others, but it's very black and white here. It's very polarized, but it doesn't seem to be that case in South Australia. Obviously, he's got his haters, but no one tonight, I've not seen one person say that he's not going to get back in. So he seems to be, as far as a politician can, universally loved in the state, to a point. Obviously, he's got some haters, but he seems to have a lot of support in the state.
Yeah. Yep. And I just got a couple of thank yous here before we carry on. I mean, you did right. We've got Claire H, who has given us $10. Thanks very much, Claire. Really appreciate that. Anybody want to contribute further to the Tony Tonkin and the Nathan Ogilvie Fund, please feel free to do so. More than happy with that. Some interesting comments is here. There's One Nation WA. Good luck, One Nation South Australia, they say. and someone below that says One Nation is like voting for Nazis. So it's divided. Let's put it that way. I thought I could bring these up, but I can't because of the way we.
I'll see if they can come up here. Look, I think we can get a. What do you think of that, Tony? We can see the streams as we go, and that's from both of our streams.
Can you see mine as well?
It's on the screen. Yeah, it's both of our comments.
Oh, I can. All right, beautiful.
That's nice.
Beautiful.
Let's do it.
So please, thanks, Claire. I really do appreciate the $10. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's going to be an exciting news, and I think can I just bring up that Cosmaris one too, if you don't mind? Can I speak?
Yeah, go for it, Tony. Well, just so everyone knows, this is usually Tony live streams. This is me live streaming, but I'm learning how to do it. So
and you're doing a fabulous job.
Oh,
I hasten to add. So I just want
you
to
can bring it up on your end now. Yeah.
Okay. So this is Cos Samaras, and for those that don't know, Cos is a pollster and probably the most renowned pollster in Australia, actually, because of the things he says that seem to be reasonable. South Australia tonight is not really about who wins government. Labor will. That goes without saying. The real question is what shifts underneath that victory. Polling heading into the vote has Labor clearly in front, while One Nation has surged past Liberals in some late surveys, turning the night into less a contest over government and more a test of political realignment. So what do we watch? First, where One Nation polls well. In a state as geographically vast and politically uneven as South Australia, judging One Nation purely by seat gains is too blunt. The better test is the damage it does to the electoral demography, where it reorders who comes second, who owns the protest vote, and whose base is hollowed out. There is the possibility that One Nation could overtake the Liberals and finish second in a swath of safe Labor seats, which would be a major psychological and structural blow for the coalition, because this will be the first live example of polling numbers that have been pointing to such a scenario. I'll also be looking at, now this is the area that's important to us, because I live on the boundaries of Playford and Elizabeth, or Elizabeth particularly. Labor will win them easily. Both are Adelaide's outer north and both are very safe Labor seats. Playford is held by John Fulbrook, while Elizabeth is being contested after the retirement of Lee Odenwalder. So if tonight One Nation runs second to Labor in Playford or Elizabeth, that's telling. It is one of the most important signs on the board. It would mean the Liberals are no longer even the default opposition in parts of outer northern Adelaide. These are not classic Liberal heartland seats. They are safe Labor, working class. That's where I am, outer suburban electorates. If One Nation starts becoming the principal anti-Labor vessel there, the story is no longer just conservative fragmentation. It is a deeper demographic fracture inside the old two-party system that we can translate into all other large cities. So I guess that's the point. The point is that here we have the potential, I think, to analyse what may eventually be on the cards for federal elections and for other future state elections, particularly where you are in Victoria, Nathan, where it looks like it'll be even more contested because of the way that your premier is viewed.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it that it's a. I think I'll hold off on the dramatic language around a political landslide, but the fact that even the ABC's tracker has it's kind of three-party. We'll get to the all of that. Maybe I'll just quickly show it now. What the way the ABC is tracking it, which is pretty. I don't think anyone would have guessed they would have tracked it this way even a year ago. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. Let's bring it up, add it to the stage.
Someone
Hi, Peter. Sorry, Peter. I had to get rid of Peter to bring it up. So that you look how they're tracking it. So we'll track this as we go tonight.
I just need to say, one of my viewers who's quite regular says Tony's just happy not having to deal with the tech because they know that I struggle.
And you know what's ironic or like stereotype breaking is Tony, for anyone watching, is way better at the tech than me. So just because I look young doesn't. I'm so bad with technology. It's
a bit like the blind leading the blind, isn't it? How in the hell?
I'm good at looking.
We're doing okay. We're doing okay at this point.
I've got Google and ChatGPT telling me how to do it in the background.
Yeah, and I've had 97 views to this point.
It still says we're live. It actually, I can see our total numbers. it's giving me your numbers and my numbers, and then it's adding
Oh,
it
you get
together
them both.
so I can
Good.
see our viewership.
Good.
Yeah.
So they're looking good. So keep coming in, keep placing your comments too.
Yeah, and
so
show your
we can
friends,
go
send your
through them
friends
as well.
the link. Yeah. If you've got a political nerd friend that you know stays home on a Saturday night, send them the link and we can all have a chat together. Yeah, we've got people like we'll answer comments too. As you can see, people's comments are coming up. But just Tony, there's back to that following up from Koss's tweet there. I don't think anyone would have seen this coming, where this is the South Australia election tracker in the ABC, and we're going to keep updating this obviously as we go through the night. But One Nation there is, it's basically they're doing a third party. One Nation used to be with Other. So now that they're actually tracking that, it seems like most people are agreeing they're going to get some seats. What's your prediction? Let's do wide and we'll zoom in on the issues and things. How many do you think they're going to get?
Predictions. You got to do predictions as well. It just can't be left up to me. But
no, I'll predict too. Yeah, well, I think you've got more knowledge of South Australia than me, because I have no idea, the political landscape of South Australia. But I've heard a few different sources. I've been watching some videos and reading a bit, Anthony Green and all of that. So I'll make a guess too, but I want to hear yours first.
I think, well, there's no doubt. Firstly, Malinaus is going to win in a landslide. No dispute about that, because of all the reasons I outlined at the beginning. But I think it might be two. This is a bit of an outlier. I don't know what other people think. Please make your comments. But I think 2 Liberal and 2 One Nation. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking, oh my God, imagine what it would be like if you had two in the House of Assembly, 2 for each party. Who then becomes the official opposition?
Do they do a coalition? Because I've made a video about that and Pauline's made a comment. I don't know if you saw that. I don't think we've talked about it on your live stream, Tony, but she slipped in a comment a few months ago, basically saying I'm a conservative at heart and I'm open to it. And people probably don't remember. I was alive for it, but wasn't voting. Pauline got elected as a Liberal originally. People don't.
She was. Well, she wasn't. She wasn't elected. She was actually a member of the Liberal Party and got disendorsed because of her racist comments.
Oh, okay. But she was run. So she got endorsed as a candidate.
She got endorsed as a candidate, and then because she got kicked out of the Liberal Party. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding. Because she got kicked out of the Liberal Party, she then stood for a seat, which I should remember, Longley. I forget what the name of the seat was. And
Oxley in Queensland.
Oxley, that's right.
Yeah, I've just looked it up. No, you're right. Thanks for the live fact check, Tony. Yeah, she then ran as an independent and got elected. Yeah,
she ran as an independent and won. Yep.
So she's sort of scorned. Do you feel like that's similar to the Climate 200 and Simon Holmes Accord, where it was like she got a personal rejection from a party, and so she just went, "Screw this! I'm going to run against, going to make it my life mission to bring you down and get my revenge." It's been a long plan. It's 30 years in the making.
It's 36 years. There's no doubt.
30 was 1996, so 30 years, yeah.
Yeah, and there's no doubt in my mind that Pauline Hanson has held a grudge against the Liberal Party for all these years, and hates the Labor Party because they are just so antithetical to her major beliefs, which are racist and popularist, I guess. And of course, one of my biggest fears is that One Nation will. Well, it's not a fear; it's something else. But certainly, One Nation will try to take on some of the Trumpist approaches and bring in Trumpism.
They already are. They're well into that, Tony.
But Trumpism wouldn't be all that popular in Australia. I mean, 27% of people approve of what they're doing in Iran. So most people disagree of Trumpism, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. No, I think that's the case. And I was Anthony Green had an interesting write-up on this, that the One Nation vote, the problem that people have when they look at nationwide polls in politics is they're not, and the Greens are a great example. The Greens get 12% of the vote on average. It goes up and down. They've rarely, I don't think they've broken 15 federally ever %. And I don't think they ever dip below 9 or 10. So they're pretty solid. but they don't get 12% of the seats. They get 1 or 2 seats, or that one election they got 4, because they're concentrated in the inner city areas. And One Nation, Anthony Green's talking about that too, where he said, so, okay, great, they've got this hype of 20% on average. Some polls are even having them maybe 24%. I think maybe there's a poll where they're 25 or even higher than a quarter of people that answer the poll. But then you look at how that's divided up in the regional in the areas, and it's mostly regional areas.
Yeah.
So is that how you came to the number 2 when you say you think One Nation will get 2? Those will be 2 regional seats that there's sort of a high concentration of those voters?
Yeah, I think so. It's not based on any scientific. Costa Maris is far smarter than I am. But anyway, it's just a shot in the dark prediction, isn't it? We don't really know. But I think Malinowskis is so popular that most people will cast. I mean, even if they choose One Nation first, some people might say, well, I'll put Malinowskis second. So preferences might very well swing some seats even further towards Malinowskis' way, because I think the Liberal Party is so much on the nose that very few people may even be putting them second. So preferences are going to play a part. And the other thing too that we need to mention, Nathan, is that there are in my electorate here in King, and someone asked me, have I voted? Yes, I have voted. But in King, there were about 9 candidates. So you had to go through and number them 1 through to 9 and, make the intellectual, there was an intellectual challenge, who are you going to put at 8th and 9th? It wasn't all that hard because many of them were crap. So, but I actually voted for real change because I know Stephen Polaris quite well, and I think he would make a good member in the Legislative Council. So I also had a different political. Well, I normally would vote Labor or Greens, but on this occasion, because I believe they're going to get in anyway, I thought I'd shift my vote to somebody completely different, someone independent.
So an independent, okay, yeah. Imagine that. I was just thinking when you said that people asked if you voted. Imagine you're doing a live stream but didn't vote. That would be pretty hilarious.
That would be embarrassing.
Of course you voted, Tony.
Yeah.
Let's just have a look quickly. Let's do a bit of a history lesson briefly on South Australia. Just like this is for our audience. If the audience are not finding it interesting, just comment and we'll change it. But I'm interested in like the lessons we can learn from history and sort of the patterns and cycles of things. I think the thing that stands. I'm just going to turn off the comments for a second because they're blocking the data. But what people this chart doesn't extend to the it's actually got the color code, but it's not going to be in the image. So that orange is not actually One Nation. That's SA Best or Nick Xenophon's party.
Oh, yep.
And the gray is others, which includes independents and One Nation. So that's the thing that stands out the most. Obviously, the light green is Greens. We know Coalition and Labor are both up there. And that's where they've overlapped, where Labor got the 40% in 2022. But it's really interesting that One Nation didn't even get their own color line at all. Now people are talking about that they might. So I didn't give my prediction. So I agree that I think it's probably realistically going to be 2 seats. But I do think I've seen some things that they may get up to 5. 5 is probably their ceiling. If they do pull, if this hype really does translate, they could get 5 seats. I've heard.
Yep.
I'll say I've heard. So if it doesn't happen, then I can slip out of that prediction.
And it's quite interesting at the moment too. I'm just watching it on ABC. There's no seats called at this particular point in time, and we're almost an hour into it. So that's an indication in itself that it's going to be harder to count these votes and to determine based on preferences, given how many how many independents are standing in this election as well. So it's not going to be easy, and it might be a long night. I was of the belief that perhaps it'd be over in the first hour, and at least declaring that Malinowskis is so far in front. But they haven't even called at this point 1 seat.
Well, I haven't. I'm looking to. I haven't seen the votes. It's still really early, isn't it? You're in Australia. You're in Australia. You're in South Australia. It's just an hour after polls have closed there, isn't it? Or
Yep. Nearly an hour. And by this time, traditionally there would have been some sort of indication, and there would have been some declaration, in particular into some of the smaller areas. I don't know what they're saying on ABC. They might give us a better view, but at this particular point in time, it seems to be level pegging. No one's been elected into any particular seat. So my guess is the counting of preferences is causing somewhat of a difficulty for them.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking. I just went through. This is from the Poll Bludger. I don't know if you know Tony Poll Bludger. I think we've talked about it. Anyone watching, you should. If you're a politics nerd, you should have Poll Bludger bookmarked. It's I think the guy's name is William Bowe. I think he self-describes as an independent as well, but his tracking of data and stats in elections is amazing. So that's where I got this chart from. So that burgundy brownie kind of line is the Family First Conservatives Party.
Yep.
So yeah, they got about 2% in 2022, and they even got their own color, and One Nation didn't.
Right.
And now One Nation's been talked about as getting X amount of percent, whatever it's going to be. Can we move over just to let's look at the two-party preferred, just in the history of that. Do you see, like, what's, again, maybe prediction, because that's a blue line. That means the Liberals, if you're saying the coalition are going to get 2 and One Nation is going to get 2, is this going to be the first year and first election in Australia where that's going to be the two-party preferred vote for a whole electorate changes color, and it's going to be Labor and One Nation?
Well, it's going to be, as you said earlier, it's going to be a completely different color, which doesn't. So yeah, we'll have to get rid of the blue line and probably replace that with something that looks more orange, I think. So yeah, it will be. It's a trend that's happening in this country, which is. It fascinates me no end, Nathan, because I think that it's a movement towards popularism with a party that basically doesn't have any substantive policies that I can understand. And you know and I do commend Hearn, the Liberal Party leader. She has a terrible job. She came into office in December. She was left with a bedazzled and confused Liberal Party, and she has done, I think, quite a reasonable job in standing up against the winds of an electorate that were opposing her at every turn. I think she's done a terrific job, but she could never be good. Now, she may not even hold her own seat, but I suspect that she might be one of those that does.
Okay. Yeah, because we can look at that in 1 minute. The last, I'm a bit of a chart nerd, so I'll go to this one just in the history lesson, which I think is fascinating, because that one, if we just go to that, that's, votes, the two-party vote after preferences, but obviously those then have to translate into seats. So if we have a look at the history of South Australia in terms of the parties and their seat numbers, you can see there was kind of in 2014, it looks like a minority government.
Yeah.
Who was that minority government formed with in 2014? Looks like it must be the Liberals. Well, Labor's pretty close to.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who that might have
coming
been.
off 2
I'm
Labor
sure
wins.
somebody in our comment section will tell us.
Yeah, they'll know
who that is.
Well, that's we're going past 10 years there. Then 2018, so obviously the coalition did well. I guess that's when federally they were in power as well, and that was just before.
Oh, these are federal
time, wasn't it?
These are federal figures, are they? Is that what you?
No, this is South Australia. I'm just sort of relating why 2018 the coalition did so well. That was around, must have been the hype of ScoMo becoming prime minister back then.
State-wise, there was a collapse,
okay.
And they did really, really badly. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy that was here. Someone did mention in the comment section too that some 400, I thought it was 300,000, but whatever. Those early votes are to be counted last. So there was a massive, which is true. So there's a massive amount of postal votes early votes, not postal votes, early votes that will be counted after the polling booths have been counted. So that could be a reason for some of the hold-ups as well, because there's so many of them.
Yeah, I heard that was record early voting this time around.
It was.
Yeah, which I guess is encouraging. It does slow down things on election night, but it shows that people are being civically engaged, because if they have to work or whatever their life circumstances are, it seems like they're taking that opportunity to vote early. That shows, to me, that shows engagement. I don't know what other people think, but
Well,
That's
also,
promising.
we had to wait, I guess, 45 minutes to an hour. My daughter said she waited an hour and a half at the polling booth today because they were short of staff, and that the computer system they were using, it's the first time they've used one. It fell over at one particular point. So there were some delays, and which is quite incredible given that so many people voted early. But there was a hold up, and they didn't have the staff, apparently, that they really needed to be able to make sure that everybody moved through the polling booths quickly. So there were some issues in relation to that. Look, and people in our comment section, let us know, did they have any difficulties voting today? Did they struggle? If in South Australia in particular,
Yeah,
did you struggle?
And is this grounds for a lawsuit from Pauline? Is she going to do a 2020 Trump? And what's Parliament House in South Australia? Is that got it? Like, we call it Spring Street in Victoria.
It's North Terrace.
North Terrace. Is there going to be a storming of the North Terrace?
Will there be a declaration that the votes were rigged, and that really she won a majority?
You have to put Peter in a bunker.
Yeah. So one wonders whether or not she might jump up and down and say that it was an illegitimate vote.
Yeah,
and we're so we've got something we haven't talked about is Cory Bernardi in the upper house here as well.
Yeah,
there's a good chance that Cory Bernardi will. Well, not good chance, he will. So he's a retired Liberal Party politician that has decided that retirement wasn't the best thing he could do, and decided to re-enter the fray. So he will certainly get a seat. There's even talk that perhaps a second and third seat in the upper house. Now the upper house is pretty thin. I don't know I forget what the numbers is. It's 11 members of the upper house. So and there's a good chance that there might be a second and a third member up there. Now that's going to cause a bit of a problem because they might even, who knows, wind up with some balance of power or some influence. Probably not balance of power, but certainly will have some influence there. And the other issue, of course, is that people don't often know is that Sarah Game was originally the first member in the Legislative Council for One Nation, and Sarah fell out with Pauline Hanson because they didn't go in the direction that she wanted to go here in South Australia, which tells us a lot more about the way that one needs to negotiate with One Nation if you're just a sole party leader in a state in which Pauline Hanson doesn't have any presence. So I think that Cory Bernardi is going to find it a wee bit of a struggle to implement whatever he wishes to implement from One Nation, because Pauline Hanson's going to want to put her thumb on the scale. So that's another issue. Sarah Game has started her own party, which is Sarah Game Fair Go, I think she's called it. I've met with Sarah when I was working with the Child Protection Party around child protection issues. I really liked her, but she has some bizarre ideas, I can tell you, which I do disagree with, particularly around abortion and getting rid of the First Nations assembly here in South Australia. So we do have diversion, but she's a very pleasant woman to speak to. So I don't know how Sarah's going to go. I believe her mother's standing in the seat as well. So let's see how that'll. And I just wonder where also all these independents are going to find themselves, scattered around the countryside. And I do wonder why a lot of independents stand. And I think a lot of independents are thinking that this is their opportunity at this particular point in time, whereas there hasn't been that opportunity before.
Yeah, I thought I'd bring this up, and that might help highlight what you're talking about, Tony. So this is the House of Assembly, the lower house, again from the poll bludger. It's just the numbers on the votes and then the percentage share of these are primary votes before preferences. So the story, I guess, for 2022 was Labor did really well, obviously, and got back into power. Greens did pretty okay. So they went up to 9% by 2.5%. So they mustn't have done really well in 2018. And then it looks like there's not much data for some of the other smaller conservative parties. And there's where One Nation did 2.63% last time. The story is the independents did well, almost doubled their vote.
I stood for real change in that election.
Yeah.
And the Child Protection Party in the election before that, we had 1,600. We even outperformed real change. We got up to nearly 1.1%, I think it was in the end. I think we had 16,000 votes. So, so I've been there, though, Nathan. I know what it's a pain in the ass. It's a terrible exercise to do. Glad I'm not doing it anymore and just commentating about it. But certainly a few minor parties there, and there are even more. It'd be interesting to see a list of all the minor parties that are involved in this particular election, because there's a plethora of them.
Now that you say that, so again, this is the seats. So it's an odd column to have the date that the party was registered in South Australia, but I guess that is what it is. But that's the list of parties there. There are quite a few more, but I can only fit. I think I cut it off at as you can see there. Once you get below like 0.2%, there's still parties that get 0.2% of the vote, but this is most of the parties that ran in 2022. Again, One Nation, zero for zero, it looked like.
Yep. Someone said here, we haven't been watching the commentary on the ABC too, but someone said here, oh, should ALP be worried? Early votes are looking grim. And someone responds, it's looking okay, wouldn't worry yet. Mr. Beats has commented less than 2% of the votes have been counted at this particular point. And I might skip through this because I think I might be missing something.
Look, we can go to the coverage. I just thought like it's a good idea to see like where things stand. So this is what you were just saying about before too. This is a legislative council, so that's like the Senate, I guess you'd say, the upper house.
Yep.
So you kind of have to do. I wish they had the column that you can add it together because it's not immediately intuitive. But Labor on 14, Liberal coalition on. Oh no, the Nationals are separated, but they got 0. Oh, so the Nationals have 0 in South Australia. So it's just the Liberals that are holding down the fort for the coalition. They got 12. Greens have 3. So you got to add the 1 to ones that they already held, obviously. So One Nation were on 2 in the Legislative Council. Is that correct at the moment?
Yep.
Okay. And then South Australia Best, which is a centrist. Nick, what do you think of the South Australia Best? I don't really know. Obviously, they're a South Australian specific party. What's our thoughts on them?
Well, I'll be quite frank. I haven't got any at all. Okay. I don't know what they stand for. I don't know who represents them. I feel like I should know. And I'm wondering whether they're the hangover from the Nick. I think they might be a hangover from Nick Xenophon's party.
Rebranded.
Yeah.
You can see there they created from the 2018. They lost 18% down to 1%.
Yeah, and I mean, Nick was the driver of all of that, and it's worth noting that Nick's pretty unwell, which is a shame. I used to work with Nick because I used to work in the gambling rehab program, and Nick was the guy who started the anti-pokey. So that was his thing when he got in, was no pokies. So and they say Best, that's right. They were the aftermath of Nick leaving. Of course, then Nick went on to the Senate and he spent a season in there, came back and has suffered some ill health since, which is really sad.
Yeah. In a way, I don't want to sound derogatory, but this is how I observe it. It's kind of a cult of personality party, almost like One Nation, where now that Nick's not involved in it, it's really created. Like it was really around his person, like obviously good issues, like bringing attention, like, a cult of personality, again, when I say it's not derogatory, is you can have someone that's a really positive personality for change, but still the reality is if the party's built around them, once that person leaves, things sort of fall apart. That sounds like the case for that party.
Yep. And I've got some, there's some stats that have just come through from Chafee, for example. Tim Wetson from the Liberal Party has 37, One Nation 33, ALP 13.4.
We're getting some results now. I brought up the ABC.
Not looking good for Oscar Harding there. Greens are at 6.3. And then have you got some stats on it? I've got one.
If you have a look, can you see the screen, Tony? Yeah, I've brought up the ABC live tracker. So One Nation are in second and their swing is already 21%. Over 21%.
Yeah. Well, when you go from nothing, what can you say? So we've got. So what are the Labor Party at the moment?
33
So
point,
I was
33.8.
just looking up.
They've lost votes, but I mean, this is really early. We're talking 0.4% counted. So let's not make conclusions
we've
yet.
got 0.7 here counted for Elizabeth. They're at 39.6. One Nation, ALP, 32.4. And a lot depends on which booths have come in, of course, with regard to that. But I'd be concerned with a percentage like that, I guess, even at this early stage. But this is the two that Samaras was talking about. Elizabeth and Playford, and this is one of those electorates where we probably need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think we can do the breakdown of seats as they come in soon.
Statewide, I'm just
so this will be the seat counter, and I think we can. Here we go. So we can go by seat. So what seat do you want us to have a look at, Tony? Which one was
Playford and Elizabeth?
Oh, it's called Elizabeth. Yeah. Okay. So again, we'll keep in mind this is not even 1% counted, so let's not count any chickens. But
statewide, what I'm looking at on ABC is 0.2% counted at the moment, and the ALP at 35.1, One Nation 25, and the Liberals 17.9. The Liberals are even doing better than I thought they would be doing at this particular point as well.
So, what's the story with it? So, are you seeing what we're putting up, Tony, on our end?
I can see it. It's a long way away from from my screen, but yes.
Yeah,
you talk about it, and
so Elizabeth is a regional. So, is the reason we're looking at that for One Nation because that's one of the two that we think is going to go to One Nation?
Well, it's those that Cos Samaras referred to. Yes.
Yeah.
These are the two indicators. Yeah. Because of the demographics of the electorates. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So we also have One Nation up 20.2, as you said. ALP down 6.4. Liberals down 14.1. Yep. Greens are up plus 1.6, which is interesting. Yep. Others are down 1.3. So there is a 3% counted on all of that. So let's not get our knickers too much in the knot over that, I don't think.
Labor's got a seat called for them already. I'm just going to find out how I can easily see that. There's only 70 seats or something. Oh, there's only 47, so I can probably just scroll.
Yep.
No, is Elizabeth already called to be held? Oh, no, ALP held One Nation ahead. All right, cool. I just got to refamiliarize myself with the actual facts so I don't get anything wrong. Okay. The Greens, again, it is early. The Greens are doing okay.
There's so few counts, but there are some concerns.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at Giles here, which is 39.3 for One Nation, 29.4 for ALP, and Libs aren't all that far behind on that at 27.7, but only 0.4% counted, so can't make all that much out of that. Lee, seat of Lee, 2.2 has been counted, and the ALP at 51.8. It's probably too early for that one, but that would be a win to the ALP at David Wilkins, I would think. So, and we've got statewide, it's 32.3 for the ALP, which would be a landslide win anyway at 32.3. One Nation at 23.3, and the Liberal Party at 21.1 at 0.5%, not even 1% counted. So I don't know what that tells us, apart from the fact that Labor at this particular point are streaks ahead.
Well, and the vote, literally, we're talking we're under 2,000 votes for even the right-wing party, so we'll let them come in. I see my biggest hater and now Fran Mays is in the chat. Welcome, Mays. We could get him on if he wants to come on. He was talking about that these seem to be coming from more regional areas, so that could be accounting for the higher initial, like One Nation in particular. Maybe this is a little inflated and it might come back down to earth as the city seats roll in. I don't have any, I don't know where we can see, I guess unless we go electorate to electorate and sort of compare how many votes are counted, maybe that's the way. We can't really see the breakdown of where these are coming from. But as you can see, the live tracker's now kicked in. We just got an update then.
Yeah, we've got one. Have you got there one already called for the Labor Party? Someone.
Yeah, what seat was that?
I
wish it would just say it here.
Can't. It doesn't tell me here what I'm looking at. I'm just running through
Actually,
the
just go
ABC feed.
Yeah, it's funny because they say ALP's won, but then you go won by Labor Party and it's not listed yet. So maybe they're just, I don't know.
It's a prediction. It's only a prediction.
Yeah.
So, and we've got, what was I going to say? Corey Bernardi. Well, we'll see how that goes. We won't be hear much from the Legislative Council tonight, I wouldn't think. I'll count them last.
I just saw a comment. I like that both of our comments are put together. It's amazing because now we're getting like my audience, your audience interacting.
Did you see one?
Someone said that they thought you'd be watching Sky News.
Yeah, I see that Modi option.
We can bring it up if we want.
Favorite commenters.
I don't like. I think I've told you this before. I don't like giving them the views. I like to watch them through you. So I give you the views on your video to then watch them.
Yeah, I have to suffer as a result, but that's just the way it is. And
yeah, we're actually the same age. You've just watched so much Sky News that.
Can we just make can we just ask people? I'll ask them for both of us to subscribe to our channels, to ring the bell for further notifications. Let us know what you think of all our feeds, both on Nathan's and on my channel. That would be helpful. And if people would contribute any funding to us to buy us a cup of coffee for the work that we do, that would be greatly appreciated also. Thanks, mate, for putting that up there.
Set that up. I'm eligible for monetization now, but I still haven't set that up.
Oh, you got 1,500, have you? Or is it 1,000 now?
It's 1,000. Yeah, it's 1,000. And it's
watch time. Well done.
So I got the watch time. I'm ready to go. Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Well done, mate.
But I haven't set it up, so you have to give the money to Tony.
All right. Okay, yeah, please do. I won't argue. So where are we sitting? We're slowly moving through all of this.
Should we look at the polling? Let's just look at the polling and see, and then we can compare it back to how. I mean, I know because we got to the results are going to trickle in over the night. But I think this is the latest polling, unless I've missed. Because that's only up to Feb. There might be even more recent. Maybe I can download the more recent one. But yeah, there was polls, like you've got to sort of take the average. But even in this year, they were polling. One Nation has been polling above 20%. So do you reckon that's like, obviously it's accurate in the sense of these are what the polls say, but do you really think that that's in the state of South Australia because that's like, if they got 2.3% or whatever it was last time, they're basically doing tenfold the results. That's huge. I mean, I know the Labor people are just going to dismiss it, and I'm not a fan of One Nation, but what does that say about Australia and our politics and what's been going on in the world and with everything that they've just shot up like that? I just don't even have words for it. So that's why I'm asking you to put some words to it, Tony.
I'm trying to find a comparison. I mean, I know that there's been a slow creep with regard to populism in Europe, Hungary and other countries, and France and Germany. And I think we're kind of seeing the same thing. Why it becomes so endemic, though, in this country is kind of beyond me, because we are so isolated from everybody else. We do have our own identity. We are different. But there seems to be a surge of dissatisfaction with the duopoly that is our government. And there seems to be an increasing dissatisfaction, which has equated to, I think, people looking for alternatives. And they're looking for alternatives regardless of the lack of policies, lack of integrity, lack of practicality that some of these parties, like Trumpism. People voted for Trump, as someone recently said, because he was funny and he was entertaining. Well, I think that's the worst reason at all to vote for a politician. You're certainly not going to vote for Pauline Hanson's party because she's enticing and entertaining anyway. She's just boring as shit. So
I hear. Yeah, it's a bit baffling.
So I'm confused. Why do people? Clive Palmer is an enigma. Why did Clive Palmer, who is extreme right wing, extreme conservative.
I have to mention that, Tony. Do you know Carl Stefanovic from the Today Show has got his own podcast, and he just had Clive Palmer on.
Yep.
His podcast.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
I didn't watch it because it's unbearable, but I saw the comments, and Clive Palmer was getting absolutely roasted by One Nation people. They're telling him to move over. I think someone told him to go die. He basically got said, like, you're taking votes from Pauline. Move over. And the best one, no one wants a billionaire in charge of politics anymore. I commented under that, look up Gina Reinhart and who she's funding. But anyway, because, we know Paul Hanson's been going around Gina Reinhart's private jet all over Australia, Mar-a-Lago. So One Nation, any One Nation watches now, Pauline is billionaire funded, just so you know. You can look that up on your own. Actually, I'll bring up the image because why not? You go, Tony.
I just want to thank, if I can just take this time out to thank Sandra Schmidt for $10. Really appreciate it. She says, towards your coffee and torturing yourself watching Sky News. Thanks. I really do appreciate the $10, Sandra, but I probably need a couple of hundred in order to equate the suffering that I go through watching those crazy people on Sky News. They blow me away. Vote for no wars, Trump, and he starts a war because Benny wanted him to, says Kilomanata. Yes, he did. And I think, that's a really good question, is why is it that I think this is a question I will be pondering for a long, long time. Nathan, what is there about popularism in Australia and the interest that there is shown in One Nation that befuddles me?
Well, let's talk about populism for a second. So, this is Peter
great job
with Gina Reinhart.
Love it. Yeah.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, and I mean this seriously, if you're like a right wing or a One Nation person I'm Tony, as I said, like, my ADHD, I can't look at the comments because I get distracted. I don't do that anymore. But if you're here watching and you're hating us, roasting us because we're lefties, Gina Reinhart's worth nearly $40 billion. Good on her. She's a Nepo baby. Her father actually created the company. To be fair, she has increased the value of the company. She does pay tax, so she's not a complete tax bludger, but that's for another video. But so she basically bankrolled Peter Dutton and the Liberal coalition's campaign, I believe, for at least the last two campaigns. It goes back years, their relationship. But because it didn't work out, this is now what's happening. So this was taken in October last year. That's in Thailand with now Pauline Hanson is Gina Reinhart's new best friend. And I just want to put it out there for anyone. Do we actually think Gina Reinhart, we're all rational people here, does she care about everyday Australians? Does she care about you and me, Tony? Does she care about you watching? She wants you to do well. She wants well-funded public services and Medicare, education, infrastructure, all the stuff that Labor and the Greens, who push Labor further, and a lot of community independents want properly funded dental, properly funded healthcare. Does Gina Reinhart stand for those things, Tony? What do we think?
So what does she expect? And this is the befuddling part for me, though, Nathan. What does Gina Reinhart expect from One Nation?
Well, we've got Gina Reinhart now. No, of course we don't, because she would never talk to us.
But what does she expect?
I mean, that's a question, isn't it? Why
you're investing in One Nation and these right-wing crazy people? You have to, if you're going to invest that money into them, because Gina Reinhart, regardless of her unethical and crazy behavior, she is not a stupid woman. I mean, admittedly, she inherited all this shit from Hancock, but nevertheless, he was a crazy man. But what is it she's expecting One Nation to do for her? Could someone answer that question? Like, if you've got, someone's got some insight into what my conspiracy theory about One Nation is a tool to push both major One Nation, which is a great sign of our future.
I can't answer that, Tony, but what I can bring up is something that, there's been so much news with the war and all that, it might have slipped by, but let's have a look at what's going on. Our friend Corey Bernardi has pledged that he's going to reimburse Gina Reinhart for the private plane flights, because this is something we should talk about. The South Australian laws have changed, and there are, I don't know if it's world first, but it's definitely Australia first, banning all political donations, private political donations are now banned in South Australia. So, I mean, is this illegal then that Gina Rinehart's still being kind of inadvertently donating to the party? Should the police? We talk about crime waves and crime. I don't hear the right wing shut up about crime. Should we be investigating Gina Rinehart for criminal behaviour?
Well, what law is it contravening?
Well, they can't donate now legally. That's why I think Corey. But this article came out.
Well, they're not donating; they're providing services. It's a big difference. You provide a helicopter flight for somebody or a limousine to somebody to get them to a special event. Then that's just providing them with something that they need to get from A to B. It's not. But I think that we need to look at inducements. Anything that somebody does that costs that organisation money in order to be able to fund somebody else needs to be looked at. That is not necessarily just about cash. So what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And what do you expect to get from it?
I guess that's a question. If it was above board,
so he's going to reimburse Gina Rinehart for that airplane fare. Why? Did he feel
during
guilty?
the campaign? I believe. Yeah.
What's the issue for him?
Well, that's the thing. If it's above board, what's the reimbursement for?
Yeah,
is that an admission of guilt?
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? I mean, in fact, if you want to avoid any of this shit, just don't do it in the first place.
You would think so.
I can remember a guy by the name of Young. Oh God, I can't remember his surname now. This is back in the 60s and 70s. Goes to show how old I freaking am. He was a Labor member at Port Adelaide, and he came back from overseas, China or somewhere, with a plush toy like a bear, and all hell broke loose because he received this from the country in which he'd visited. And I suggest we bring back those days where we question what someone is. Mick Young was his name. Fancy me forgetting that. My dad used to say that in Port Adelaide, this is, my dad didn't mean it to be racist, I don't think, but these days it sounds racist. You could put a monkey up in that seat and it would get in. And my father was an extreme conservative and liberal supporter and a candidate for Liberal Party at some point. So how far we have travelled, Tony, how far you have gone. You've seen the light. Yeah. But there was a time though, Nathan, where people were picked up on just the smallest little things.
Yeah, the average citizen steals a chocolate bar and you can get a criminal record.
Yeah.
The police and the I think we need police. I'm not against the police, but the way we focus on these kind of crimes when all this white collar crime is rampant frustrates the hell out of me. I do wonder how many, if they polled One Nation supporters, how many of them know about these sort of connections, where the money comes, like where the hype has come from. Sky News isn't shutting up about Pauline now as well. That's Rupert Murdoch. We could bring him up too. He's smarter. See, he's smart enough. He's a little smarter than Gina. He knows not to get photos with her. Photos with the politicians. I don't think there's any real photos of Murdoch with any politicians because he knows the power of
any Murdoch, incidentally, not just Rupert.
Well, they know how powerful it is because it's look, I personally believe, so I'm not making a legal statement, but I believe it's corruption. It's corruption in all aspects except for just legally being able to call it that. Just because a multinational corporation or a billionaire is donating to you, you're accepting that money and then saying that it's not influencing you. No one believes. I mean, you got to delude yourself to believe that that's not the case, I think. But I just wonder if they're even aware. That's my question.
Yeah. Trevor Bauer's got an interesting comment here. We also need laws to prevent social media and so-called news outlets influencing our elections. It's social media. We're part of social media. I don't know what influence you and I have. Probably not all that much, really, when you think about it.
It's growing. I just look at the trajectory.
It's growing. We are going to become. We will actually call ourselves influencers at some particular point, Nathan. But it's not happening just yet. So please remember to subscribe to our channel so we become more influential and press the like button.
My goal is to become my own billionaire to I'm just jealous. Yeah, I want to be Gina Reinhardt flying
I
Pauline
wanna
around. I'm joking.
I was talking about my wife the other day. I would love to have enough money to give it away.
Yeah, well, I can't
I've
fathom
got so
having that
many
much money. Yeah,
I've got so many
it's
causes I'd like to contribute to. I would love to be able to influence, people that are homeless, that people escaping domestic violence,
yeah,
people with mental well-being issues. There are so many causes that I would like to be able to fund if I had enough money to do it. Unfortunately, I don't. I just do
yeah.
YouTube. What more can I say? You actually have a profession and a job. You're probably killing it in the
Allegedly,
psychological
yeah,
realm.
allegedly, yeah. But
Allegedly.
I saw a great comment too, Tony. I wanted to point out. I can't. The problem so with this stream, we can't scroll back through those comments. So sorry, everyone. Like, but they're coming through. Or maybe we can actually. Can I
We
scroll
can.
back?
You can go up and down them.
I can read them, but I can't scroll them on the actual screen.
Oh, I can scroll them on mine.
Yeah, you can see them on yours, but what the audience can see just runs through. But someone pointed out Pauline Hanson's voting record in the sense of her truancy. Because do you know what her vote? Did you see that comment, Tony, or do you want to do a pop quiz? What you think how many votes she shows up for, or do you already know?
She's only in Parliament 55% of the time.
That's
I can
it.
tell you
Yeah,
that,
54%. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
did some
imagine
research on
if
that
I
not
say
long
this
ago.
as a parent. Imagine if your
I
kid
just want people to know I'm
didn't
well
go to school
informed.
half the time.
Go on, sorry.
Or just saying, as
Go
a
on.
parent, your kid didn't show up to school for 2.5 days of the 5-day week. That's what Pauline's
good
doing.
point.
Like, what else
Yeah.
is she doing? Your job as a senator is to, because I heard this is a counterpoint. They go, oh, they've got a lot of other roles. It's like, no, your senator's most powerful thing they can do is vote, right?
Yep.
Is that not what the most important part of the job is? Sure, read policy. I mean, do we think Pauline's off in her office reading policy instead of voting? She's out with Gina Reinhardt in Thailand having pad thai.
Or she's at Mar-a-Lago giving a speech to CPAC.
Having whatever they eat over there. Yeah.
The place that that Rita Panahi was at. Someone said to me, Sky News is really a coven of witches. Andrew Bolt, Barry Potter.
I saw that.
I love it, and I think there's so much truth in all that because I do watch, unfortunately, a lot of Sky News. That they've turned into, so they've become the anti-Liberal Party. They're always anti-Labor, that goes without saying. They're now so anti-Liberal and so pro-One Nation. And the interesting thing for me is that in the last election, they were so pro-Liberal. They didn't influence anybody with their massive broadcasting capabilities and their presence on YouTube and everywhere else. They were not able to influence that particular election.
Did you hear, Malcolm Turnbull's quote that Sky News and all of that ecosystem is the best thing that's happened to the Labor Party?
Yeah,
because really, what it's done, and this is actually why I created my channel. Like we talked about this. When you came on.
Yeah,
you did the interview on my show, Tony. Is like, what it's actually done is it's insulated that voter block, which I don't know the stats, but let's say it's pretty much over 50-year-olds. I don't think there's any under 50-year-olds watching Sky News. Maybe even over 70-year-olds. Because I know the Fox News data is like their audience is pretty much like 90% over 70-year-olds because it's shown in like nursing homes, like where people are like captive audiences. They can't change the channel. It puts what it does. I think what they think it does. They think it does have influence, but it isolates them from all the other information. And I find this with I don't know if my family are watching, but I always hear the Sky News talking points when I go over there if the topic goes to politics, because it's all they watch in terms of their political information. And that's damaging, I think. And on the left too.
Do you want to bring the shot back to this shot of two of us?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. I was just looking. I was live tracking the results, but yeah, we'll go to that.
Well, we'll come back to them in just a second, I think.
We'll come back to it. Yeah.
Because because I reckon what happens to old people is their family sets them up with one TV station. They take away the remote control.
Yeah.
So they just have to watch because we don't know how to turn the dial anymore.
I'm stuck on Fox News.
So they're just stuck on. So
we have to do that. We have to go switch it all, but we don't have a left-wing channel. That's the problem.
We do. We have us.
No, and people say the ABC, but it's like, look up David. David Spears is like one of the biggest hosts of the ABC. Look up his history. He's come from Sky News. He's a conservative.
Yeah. And
he pretends to be a centrist, but
He does. But I'm not a hater of David Spears, whereas a lot of people tend to be on X. But I'm not. I suffer him. Just wanted to have a look at the Metropolitan votes at 0.6 counted. Labor Party are so far ahead at 42.6. I have here.
I'll just quickly show that. Yeah.
You got that up there as well?
Yeah. They've now got the two-party estimate, and Labor's at 55 to 45. It's still they're still putting it at Liberals.
But the Liberal Party are almost level pegging with One Nation.
Yeah. It's going to be a fight for the second. That's what I'm. That's
yeah. It is. I'm quite interested in that for those people that are watching our channel. And
I'll take that off so we can just have the two of us. Yeah, that's going to be the question of the night. Who's in second place?
Yep. And Hartley 4.7 has been counted, and Jen Roberts is at 40.6. So I'm just flicking through some of these. He would win. So that's West Torrens. He's already 6.6. Tonkin and Tonus has already won that. That's not a problem. 54.9% of the vote after 6.6. That's rather early, but nevertheless. So there are lots of some votes. I don't know what the count. This count's still at 1. Has it gone up at your end at all?
We've got 1.7% counted. I'm watching the ABC tracker too.
Yeah. I'm actually flicking through their live feed and picking it up as I go.
I want to be fair to if there's any right wingers watching and they're getting triggered, let's just be fair to them. Liberals have 2 seats confirmed now, and Labor's only got 1. So this is probably their best result of the night. So if we stop the count, Tony, the Liberals
finish it now.
One Nation's at 0, so One Nation flopped. Liberals are on 2.
I think the Liberals are doing better. I think Libs are doing better than anybody thought, to be quite honest. So remembering that Liberals, the One Nation was up nationally at about 22%.
Yeah.
They're now down to about 18.4. Liberals are up to 16.5, which is about where they were. And Labor are romping in at about 43.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you think that's what we were just joking about the Sky News demographic, but that's my fascinating, the psychological, again, like one of the other reasons I created my channel about political decision making. I did find it when you see that, like, let's just talk federally rather than South Australia. They got about 6.5% One Nation Australia wide, and then they're polling at about on average 20%. I was very skeptical, and I still am, and we'll see the results of the South Australian one, but that's a 14% increase. And that kind of like, I mean, yes, everyone's individually different, but the kind of stereotype of those sort of hardcore Liberal voters, coalition, my thinking is it the polls is them, because a poll is different to a vote. Someone calls you on the phone or it's a text and you just press a button.
Yep.
Were they kind of One Nation curious, and they will eventually come back to the Liberal coalition when they realize that One Nation is like, because in seriousness, as you said, like this candidate that's had the sexual assault charge, they're trying to build infrastructure from nothing. Their policies clearly look like they were written by AI. We can look at those if we want. And one thing that I would say about the center right, like kind of the conservatives, the genuine conservatives, that they're not necessarily far right where they just want to tear everything down. They want the economy managed well. Were they just frustrated with the coalition and sort of voted One Nation on polls? But when it comes time to actually vote and it means something, they might come back to the Liberals.
Well, I think
or might be a bit too,
I was just having a look at Schubert here, where Ashton Hearn, who's the leader of the Liberal Party, she's at this is 4.7 counted, so it's a reasonable count, I guess. 35.7 for her. Bruce Priest from One Nation is at 26.2, and the ALP is following their old Bruce at 22.9. So Ashton Hearn, to her credit, have you got that there?
Yeah, we're up. Yeah, well. I got it up. Yeah, I can bring up any electorate we need. Yeah, so.
Oh God, the man's a genius. What can I say? Amazing. So I'll flick through One Nation. You're always going to find One Nation way ahead now, above the line, because they just haven't been here before. So that's a bit of a non-starter. So which one have we got?
That's the thing. So what are they going to say? I guess it's still, because like when it's an independent, like a Monique Ryan or a Allegra Spender or a whatever, doesn't really matter. Their allegiance as an independent, they call it 2CP, like 2 candidate preferred.
Yeah.
I guess it's still 2 party preferred if it's One Nation and Liberal because they're party members, right?
Yeah.
But then if some seats like this one is the Schubert one is turning into a 2 party preferred with 2 right-wing parties.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. Like I can't even, what do you say? Like the One Nation candidate's way out in front of Labor. We could look at what the 2022 result was for One Nation in that seat, but
yeah, I don't know whether
are they taking votes from Labor as well?
Yeah, and I kind of wonder about the consistency around all of this, because we've got another one here for Hurtle Vale. I don't know where Hurtle Vale is necessarily. 1.5 counted, but ALP's at 43%, One Nation at 26.5. Greens are in front of the Liberal Party in that seat.
Sorry, what seat was that one?
Hurtle Vale, Hurtle Vale.
All right, I'll bring that one up. I want to see the Greens above the Liberals. Finally.
So that's not consistent with what we've seen so far. I think quite frankly, Nathan, we are wonderful commentators on an election, given it's the first time we've ever done it. Let's count that in. We're going to have a wonderful time at the federal election, aren't we? It's going to be massive.
Yeah. If we live that long, if the nuclear bombs.
Thanks very much, mate. I'm closer to the end of that time than what you are. Thank you.
No, I'm saying we might all die at the same time at this point.
We might. There might be a nuclear weapon. Yeah, nuclear war. Yeah, let's face it.
Someone did say, even though it should be obvious, I mean, because we're all, not we're all, but like this is more of a lefty space. The Greens' preferences do go to Labor. And the federal, I just did a video on it. I looked up because Anthony Green had a great write-up about preferences and things like that. In the federal election in 2025, Greens' preferences, so like, if you're a Greens voter and then your candidate gets knocked out, who you vote next is 88% or 88.9% or whatever. So basically 90% Greens preferences go to Labor. So yeah, Labor. I know Labor have a lot of bad blood and frustration with the Greens, especially around 2009 and all of that with Kevin Rudd and the carbon tax, and then recently with the housing accord and all that. But my whole thing is like we're on the same team, really. We disagree about size and scope and scale, but it does sadden me that Labor see the Greens as a threat. I know they're adversarial, but at the end of the day, the Greens, I've been a Greens voter for most elections, and I've always put Labor above any right-wing party. And again, the data shows that 9 out of 10 Greens do that.
Likewise. There's a interesting comment here from Andrew Welcome. I don't know whether I don't know whether these people are coming from your channel or from mine. I'm a bit confused. But anyway, it says to vote One Nation requires little brain power. Gutfuls and rage takes little energy. Very boring to go through Greens policies that requires cognitive brain power. Most just can't handle it. So I thought that was supporting what you just said about the Greens. I think that there seems to be a strange divergence, because it's one of the issues that has come up basically has been where does One Nation feature? So there was the Elizabeth Playford area and country areas in particular. So, what are we going to notice? And this will be something that we'll have to talk about for quite some time, I think, Nathan, is to what extent is One Nation influence in the blue ribbon seats? Sorry, the blue collar worker seats.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's where I am. And to what extent do they not have any influence in seats like Adelaide and Central Australia and the western suburbs, particularly in this state? So, to what extent are they influencing? That'll be an interesting take on all of this to let us know, and whether that transfers over to the nationals. The national polling as well. So we've got another seat here. Can you bring out the seat of Lee? You've got a copy of that one?
I can. Yeah, I can. Yeah. Just quickly, let's cover Lee. I just wanted to cover, this is just a really minor point, but I saw some. I read the chat, Tony. I told you I can't let it go if I see. Just on the Greens, someone said that about, let's just clear up what the Greens actually do. because they said
Greens don't
Greens
allocate preferences. Is that the one? Or?
That's not true. So this was there from their website, but I grabbed the Greens. The physical flyer from the last election I've probably thrown out, but I did have the copy of it. The way the Greens do it is they do sort of give people freedom. They obviously say vote one Greens, but they clearly specify on their how to vote cards. When you vote for the major parties, make sure you put Labor above Liberals. They clearly specify that. So someone said like the Greens don't tell you who to put. That's misinformation. That's half the truth. They don't always rank it, but they always say, like, as you can see here, number the rest of the boxes, like give you the freedom to allocate how you want, but always put Labor above the Liberals. So let's just clear that up. The Greens don't. I think some Labor people or whoever thinks that's just wrong. The Greens don't do that. They tell you to put Labor first. They're not that dumb. Yeah. They're not going to like say, oh yeah, just put any party. They clearly say put Labor above Liberals. Sorry, Tony, just had to correct that. I'll bring up.
No, that's true. I'm glad you did. I love this comment by Petty Lefty. ALP pretends to hate us, but they need our preferences. I don't know if they do 10% hate you. I think they're indifferent, to be honest. So I was looking at Lee, where David Wilkins is at 46.5 after 4.6 counted. One Nation are at 23, so they're half the vote.
Well, that's like Albanese numbers. That's like a minister level.
Your pardon?
Getting nearly 50% of the primary is like minister level, like Albanese or Tony Burke in their seats.
Yeah, I know, but this person isn't even a standing member. There's obviously a retiree, I would think, have come from Lee, or it's a new election. I don't know. I'm not that well informed. I'm sure Casey Briggs would tell us, but David Wilkins from the ALP is at 46.5, Liberal Party at 10.7, and Fabio Sturm from One Nation is 23. So that's an uncontested seat, basically. So that's probably
what's the demography of this seat? Like, where is this situated in South Australia? What's the kind of voters like?
Look, I don't mind declaring my ignorance in this matter.
Okay.
Do you have a geographical map?
Yeah, I'll bring up the geographical map for sure. I just saw another comment.
So people can learn with us.
Yeah.
You know?
Someone said, do I think Pauline's charismatic? If anyone, maybe that person's never seen my. I do. Look, I know I divert from my lefty friends. This is why I'm the rightist leftist. I see her appeal to that demographic. I don't think she's appealing. But if you want to put your blinders on and not think that she knows exactly how to market to her crowd, you're deluding yourself.
Well,
I don't think she's going to expand. Like, this is the question: how much can they expand? Because Nigel Farage does the exact same thing, and they've contracted because the UK is not getting better under his. I mean, they're not the leadership, but they're the highest polling party. They overtook Labor. A lot of people don't know that. Reform right now is the highest polling party, and they're going backwards because people are waking up to it. But in Australia, yes, Pauline is very charismatic to her demographic, for sure.
So
most charismatic leader.
I do wonder about that. You've got to say
Albanese is not that charismatic. I'm sorry.
No, I don't mind Albo. Very bland.
Albo's not. Albo is at the top of the list,
but he's consistently bland. But I do wonder about that too. Whether people see themselves sometimes in these people. So if you're going back to Trump, if you have misogynistic views, sexist views, views about immigration that are unhelpful, views that are racist, you think, oh, well, that person's okay. That person's kind of just like I am. They think like I am. They see the world the same as I do, regardless of how much money they have and regardless of their ethics and their values. They think like I do. And therefore, that's the attraction. So I think with Pauline Hanson, it's the same way. A lot of people think, well, she's not very bright. Subconsciously, they're thinking, oh, well, that's a bit of transference. So they're not, I'm not bright. They're not bright. So I'll vote for them because they're similar to myself. Maybe there's you're the psychologist. You tell me. Maybe there's a psychological respect.
It's more. I think it's even more simple. Like, it's just that Pauline knows. Like, I think as well. Initially, she was like that too. That she saw the multiculturalism increase in Australia because demography. Whatever judgment you put on that, Australia is more multicultural now than it was in the 90s, and then the 90s was more than it was in the 60s. It's just how you then look at that. Do you see that as a good thing or a bad thing? And she saw that, she said swamped by Asians. That was her quote. And now it's Muslims. It's whatever minority of the day that's coming in, or Africans as we hear in Victoria. I'm not going to go on my soapbox about immigrants right now, about how, yes, like all humans and all cities and societies, there is crime. Most of them are hardworking, have families, pay taxes, contribute to society. You can look at the small number of cases and then generalize that to a whole group. But that's a salient message for those people. And that's where this is what the battle is in the UK. The Greens in the UK and Reform are diagnosing the same problem. Things are really bad. Cost of living is out of control. Young people can't afford a house. It's just a solution. The right wing go, it's the immigrants' fault. It's part of the story because, yes, if more immigrants come in, they take more houses. But that's not at all the big picture. Why are the immigrants here? What are the billionaires and businesses who get cheap labor, et cetera, et cetera?
But it's politics by grievance, though, Nathan.
Well, the question is, so Pauline speaks to that. Whether we like that or not, that's what she does. And
grievances don't solve problems.
So that's Lee there, Tony. Just answer your question. Lee's just under Port Adelaide.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
So this is an old 2018 map, but it's the most recent. I could probably find just a map of Lee, but is that Glenelg-ish?
Glenelg, it would be, but Glenelg, I would have thought would have been a little bit more liberal, but I don't know where it's at now. So I just noticed that there is a swing at the moment being recorded towards Labor of 5.1%, which is a massive swing given that they annihilated the Liberal Party last election. So the movement's still moving towards Labor at this particular point. But we don't know where. When One Nation, we can't really account for One Nation because they weren't here last time. So,
well, they got 2.3% or something, but yeah, they weren't really a factor, were they?
No.
On that though, the grievance politics, is that what is translating? Because obviously, I know my Labor friends hate to hear this, so this is where they're going to start commenting. Labor don't really. They do in certain ways, but in general, they're not really great. And I think I've got my Labor friends to concede these points. They're not great at the bragging of the policies. And what Trump has shown us, if anything, is that you can, if it's style versus substance, you can win on style with no substance. So I know that a lot of the centrist parties or even center left, Democrats in the US, Labor here, Labor in the UK, they go, it's more important to be a competent manager, do the good work behind the scenes of building back the public service, restoring that funding to those things that the right wing decimated. And I agree with all of that. That governing work is the most important thing. But to win an election, you need to market it. You need to sell it. And that's where the people who have the grievance, some of them don't even know. Because this is where, like with my channel, I get right wingers every so often come in. And yeah, I get roasted by some of them. But every so often there's good faith ones that go, oh, I genuinely didn't know that. Like, I'm not a lefty, I'm a right winger, but I didn't know that fact that you just gave to me. And that's why I think the style of like our responsibility is we can roast the right wing politicians and roast the right wing media space and all the billionaires and millionaires. They're well and truly deserving of roasting. But if we extend that to all of the voters, I do feel like we miss. There is a slight, and I'm saying this is probably like 1 or 2% of that smaller pie. So let's say it's like the 20% voting One Nation. There's probably 1 or 2% of them that may see us and actually in good faith go, I didn't know Pauline was funded by Gina Reinhart. I'm so against the billionaires. I'm going to look into that further. Now, they might still vote, but that's what I'm trying to do is like that small demographic. And some people would say it's so small as to not even be worth chasing after. But it's like, well, I post this stuff anyway, and they find me anyway. So I know my 99% of my audience mostly agrees with me, or they half agree with me, but they don't like that I'm critical of Labor. They prefer me to be a Labor member. You know, that's fine. But there is that, I don't know if you get them in your chat or anything too, Tony. It's like every so often you get someone that goes, I genuinely didn't know that, and I'm going to think about it more. And look, if that ends up changing a few of their votes, I mean, that's awesome. I think that's like, because Pauline's doing it in the opposite way. She's pulling people further right. So why don't we try and pull people further left? Not too far left.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you around the possibilities associated with all of that, but I actually find that my goal is to just simply push back.
Yeah, so I know you do it well.
To have a voice against what you hear the right saying, which, in my view, unethical, unprincipled, then someone needs to push back against the propaganda that they're spreading. But there again, if I see propaganda being spread from the left, I will call that out for what it is as well.
Yeah.
Look, I just wanted to comment that on our count here, have you got that current count for?
I do. Yeah, I've just currently what I've got up is I've got Lee. I've got Lee electorate up because I think that one I showed was 2018. So this covers West. Do you know West Lakes?
Yep.
Grange, Seaton, Royal Park.
Yeah, so
that's what it covers.
That's what I would imagine to be a Liberal area.
Okay.
I would think.
All right. Well, we have McNamara in Victoria, which is a federal electorate, but that's right near the beach as well, and that goes pretty strongly Labor. It's Josh Burns, who's a Labor member. You'd think that being near beach houses that it would be.
I've gone beyond Lee now. Where's Lee at the moment?
Yeah, I've still got it up. Just gonna refresh.
So we've got David, Labor way in front.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been called, but yeah, two.
We've got Hyson in the Adelaide Hills, very small percentage counted, but that was interesting where ALP are at 30.9, One Nation at 27.1, and Liberal Party, which is the standing MP there, looks like they may lose their seat or not, because it will depend in that particular seat on. So if you bring up Hyson, you've got that there?
Yeah. What's it, Hyson?
Hyson. Hyson is currently held by the Liberal Party, may be maintained depending on preferences from One Nation.
What do we know about preferences?
Greens are at 12.2, so the chances are that a lot of the preferences for Bell, for the ALP, will go back from the Greens, but then a lot of the preferences from Liberal, that's going to be tight, I reckon, at this point, if those preferences flow over.
Did you get, what do we know about preferences, Tony? Like, did you get a flyer? Do you know if One Nation and Liberals are preferencing each other?
No, One Nation have decided not to preference anybody and leave it up to individuals to do.
Well, that explains this one then, because I'm looking and it's like Labor is out in front, then One Nation second, Liberals are third, but the Labor candidate on the preference count is ahead. So that would explain that. Because I'm like, why is whoever the right winger not way out in front?
Yeah. Well, and
that must mean the Liberals didn't count a preference either. They didn't preference One Nation.
And a credit to One Nation, really, for suggesting that perhaps people make up their own minds. But, generally, not everybody follows how to vote cards, I hasten to add. Remember that people can vote for whomever they like. They don't have to vote according to those cards put out in front of them.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting what the parties say,
But it will determine the Legislative Council, though, because a lot of people just vote above the line. And in South Australia, you just need to put one for the one that you prefer, and the party concerned selects their preferences beyond that. So you can put up 1, 2, or 3. But if you just did one, it's not an informal vote. That vote will be counted. So the Legislative Council will be a little bit different. So I've been interested to see the makeup of that some particular point. But I am interested in the fact that a place like Hyson, which is a Liberal-dominated area, is to be contested, but it looks like it might be really, really super close.
Yeah. And this is the thing. I don't know. I'm bringing up, I've got currently the vote count. But then if we go over, I know, again, it's early, but the seat count, Labor's got 15 already. Liberals have 1 and One Nation has 0. And this is that thing that I think One Nation voters, I don't want to say necessarily lack of education, but like understanding how the voting system works, or the concentration of the votes in certain areas. Just because they're getting, let's just say this is the final result and One Nation end up on 22% or 21.9%, it doesn't mean they're going to get 22% of the seats. Because if that vote is just regional areas and it's concentrated out there and not really in Adelaide at all, or the Adelaide metro area, it's not going to translate into seats necessarily. And that's the challenge the Greens have always had.
I had Liberals. What's your figures showing there? How many Liberal seats are there at the moment?
One confirmed at the moment.
There were 2.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They as one of them, and especially with the One Nation votes coming in. Yeah.
And you've got how many? 50. How many Labor seats?
15.
15.
I'll go back to that.
That's a massacre. No One Nation at the moment.
Not yet. No.
So that's interesting in itself. Yeah, I've got 15-1 now. I've just caught up on ABC.
It's an interesting thing. I just had a thought, Tony. I know you just said like audience watching too, what people think is like the how to vote. You're right, and I didn't mean to imply that. When I was asking about what did the party's preference, I know that the voters get to choose that. And One Nation have obviously, as you've said, they didn't put Liberals as a preference. And I think that I guess if a lot of these voters for One Nation have come from the Liberals. We can talk about the small amount that came from Labor and maybe other parties, maybe independents that have gone to One Nation. But everyone agrees that the coalition voters, the ones that have gone to One Nation, if they got 2% last time and now it's 22%, this 20% of voters has come mostly from the coalition. It sort of makes sense. Like if they've come from there because they're upset at the coalition, they're not going to then preference the coalition. They're pissed off at the coalition for many different reasons. So it makes sense that those One Nation, but I'd wonder then, does that mean it goes to Labor? Like, is Labor going to sort of inadvertently do well because of the grievance of One Nation voters to the Liberal voters?
Yeah, and it's really unknown, and it's got to be a unique election if that is the case, I reckon.
Yeah, I just thought about that. I'm like,
yeah, no,
One
you're
Nation
right.
are inadvertently making Labor stronger.
Yeah, I did hear that. I did hear that argument actually.
I just realized that. That's genius.
Yeah, and they could possibly be doing that. It could be like people say, okay. Oh no, I'm fine. Thanks, Tony. My wife's concerned about my health because I haven't had tea yet. But I guess what it does tell us is that perhaps people are saying that's my first preference, One Nation, but I'm going back to where I used to vote if I voted Labor and voting for them. Because people really don't understand the impact that preferences have, I think. So anyway, it's going to be fascinating to look back at some of these electorates and find out that One Nation voters have actually switched back to their original preference, which has meant that it's kind of counted their own vote in a way.
Yeah, because that's one thing we know is like people are much more like where things like anxiety and anger and stuff, like we're more attuned to negativity. And so it's very possible that a One Nation, I'm just thinking of someone that left the coalition because they were pissed off at Dutton's performance or that they think they've gone too woke with Susan Lee or whatever. And they've gone, all right, I'm going in, I'm putting One Nation first and I'm putting coalition last. And they may not have made that next leap to go, that means I've technically voted for Labor.
Yeah.
Although, look, to be fair, that Labor's swing is down 2.7, but that's the primary, though. So we've got to see what the preferences say. I'd love to see the stat on.
There's a swing. I just saw it up at 5.1. Yeah. I saw it up at 5.1, so it's gone down, you think?
Oh, so Labor Party's swing.
Oh,
sorry, I mean primary vote. So they're going. They're at 37.5, but that's 2.5% less than last election. Again, we're talking 6.5% of the votes counted at the moment. So
yeah, and they've got Greens are up. Good sign, I reckon.
Yeah, they're doing pretty. Greens, I mean, they're still not breaking 12%, but they've gone up 2.7%. They're just the Greens have a ceiling, and I mean, we don't have to make this a Greens kind of stream because they're not really a factor. It sounds like are they for a shot at any seats? I don't think so. Have they got any seats?
No.
So they're not really a factor in here.
No,
it's disappointing. Like you think getting 12% of the vote, you get at least one seat.
Can you bring up
it's where the votes are located?
Yeah, can you bring up Mount Gambier for us, mate? So Mount Gambier, obviously, as you probably are aware, is a country seat where they've had politicians of dubious quality for the Liberal Party. And One Nation, after 15.9%, are at 28.2%. The Independent is at 26.6%, followed by Matthew Key. It'd be interesting to find out what happens in relation to that party because the preferences from the preferences from the Independent could very well flow over to Matthew Key. So the ALP candidates might still have a chance, even though he's only at 14.8%. So, Anne-Marie Loff is probably sitting in a chair at the moment, hoping that she's the first One Nation candidate for South Australia. I don't know. Have you got that one up?
What was the story with the Independent being blank? I missed that.
The Independent, I don't know because I don't know who Travis Fatcham is. Don't know enough about him. We need to
I just
listen
don't see
to
even a name
there. For Mount Gambier, we're looking at?
Yeah, it's blank on the ABC website.
Oh, right. I've got it up here in front of me here anyway.
Oh, no, list all candidates, and then it came up. That's weird. It wasn't there.
Right.
Okay.
So
there's a few other independents running too, it looks like.
Yeah,
sort of
so where's that one stand at the moment?
The Mount Gambier?
Yep.
One Nation's ahead with 28.2%.
Yeah, that's the one I've got too.
And,
yeah.
And then independent Travis is 26.6%. So it's neck and neck between independent and One Nation. Is that to be expected, Tony? Is that kind of a, independents do well
for that
in
area,
regions?
I think it is. Their member that was there from the Liberal Party was a disaster. One of those people that found themselves in front of the court. So that's because it's completely new in terms of candidates, I guess. So that's probably not a surprise. Not a surprise that One Nation should do well, I wouldn't think, in that particular area as well. So we've got another one where One Nation seems to be streaks ahead at Narunga, Naurungga. If you could bring that up, 15.2% counted.
To start alphabetically ordering.
Labor Party are way behind on that one. And that's 35.5 for Chantel Thomas in that area.
Oh, wow.
Independent Fraser Ellis is the MP. So it's unknown what's happening in that particular electorate, apart from the fact that One Nation may win it, depending on what preferences Tanya Stock gets. And we don't know what Fraser Ellis's preferences would be. But I think 35.5 at 15.2 counted is pretty high.
Oh, yeah. I would say so. I'm just going to bring up the maps because I'm fascinated. Like, this is, South Australian people probably know where that is, but I'm just going to show the audience. I think it's pretty interesting. Narunga. So what's the story with Narunga? Is that typically
no idea,
like a right wing?
I'm not going to declare that I know something about something when I don't know anything about Narunga. Have you got the map on that?
Yeah, I'm bringing it up. Yeah, I just got to remove as we go.
God, you're amazing.
So it's sort of that tip that.
So
it looks like Italy.
Yeah. It's on your peninsula. Okay, so country area, obviously, and one would expect One Nation to be doing well in that area. That's for sure.
Okay. Yeah, and look, yeah.
Can you bring up another one for me? Can you bring up Chaffey? Chaffey.
Chaffey. Yeah, I think I've got that one. No, I don't. Chaffey. I think I had opened it at one point. Where are we? Nope. There we go.
So they're presenting two-party preferred, aren't they, in some of those results? The results
this one's switched over. Preferred. Yeah, so Labor's out, kind of. It looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer Troth, 36.5. The current MP is Liberal Party Tim Wilston, and probably might retain that, given the ALP is so far behind at 11.3% of the vote counted. So it looks like, I would suggest, I don't know, but it looks like the Liberal Party may retain that seat, depending on the preferences Jennifer Troth gets. Right. So that's an interesting one in itself. So what are they saying? So we've got Liberals at 3 now, ALP at 17.
And other, so it looks like maybe an independent's being declared as well.
An independent, yeah. So
yeah, they're delaying the one by. They must announce it on this tracker, and then the one by they're withholding that until. So Gibson's the only one that's sort of fully confirmed. It looks like.
I've just got one other here. Other. So where was the other one? Who's the independent? Can you tell?
Yeah, well, they haven't announced. So it looks like when they say the party won by, they seem to be more strict on that. So I think I'll have to scroll through and find out.
Right.
Could be Finnis. Finnis has an independent ahead. Do you know Finnis?
So we've got the Liberal Party for Chaffey, 51.5. So that person's won already, over 50%. And I'll tell you what, the One Nation did a fabulous task, 48.5. And they've put that down as in doubt because there must be preferences still to be. Oh shit! Okay, so that's interesting. One, there could be a win there for One Nation, maybe.
In which one?
At Chafee that we're looking at earlier.
Yeah, Chafee. Yeah. Cavill. So I was having a look where the independents are doing well. So we've got Cavill, Kavel. It's sort of a four-way race, it looks like at the moment. But the independent's out. Matt Schultz is out, and it looks like with preferences, he's at like a third, 66.5%.
Yep.
So that might be the independent. And then there's Finnis, which has an independent.
And we've still got the Labor Party heaps in advance at 39.1. One Nation still outpacing. This is interesting, 21.6. So they're somewhere near what the polls were saying, actually. And the Liberal Party at 18.1. So the question will still remain. ALP are down 0.9. Liberals down 17.6. That's a shellacking. Greens are up 1.7.
Is that a specific seat you're looking at?
No, that's statewide. Sorry, statewide.
Is that you mean the totals? Because I've got different ones coming up here.
6.8 counted. I don't know how far behind I am on this.
I've got 7.3% on this
ABC. You're ahead of me.
So the numbers are a little different from what you said. But
what have you got? Tell us what you've got.
Well, we've got Labor at 37.5, One Nation at 20.8, Liberals at 19.4, Greens at 11.6. And independents don't seem to be doing too well. They're at 6.4, and it's about 1% down. But they have won a seat, they're saying. So I'm not exactly sure which one, but it's probably that Cavill one. But who knows?
So what are One Nation at the moment?
20.8% of the primary vote. So they're ahead. They're the second party now.
With 0 seats.
One Nation, 0 seats, yeah.
So what does that tell us about preferences? Where are preferences for?
Yeah, well, some of the comments, some people in the audience are saying, I think there's Trevor Bauer said they're not getting enough preference flow from the Liberals to win a seat. And look, I think this is the thing that I guess the Greens and Labor do well is they preference each other, even though there's that animosity. The Greens fall behind Labor. Like as I said, it's 88.9% federally. We'll see what it is for this election. We'll have to wait for that to come through. But the Greens and Labor, even though they have that tension, when it comes down to voting, the preferences are always. I know there's some electorates where they don't do that. There was like Adam Band. He got out because the Labor just wanted to get him out of Melbourne, the electorate of Melbourne. But it seems like what's happened here is One Nation and Liberals tension is so strong that the non-preferencing of each other, or even from the voters, it makes sense. If you are a coalition person that left to go to One Nation, you're probably not going to preference Liberal. I can see so many of those. I can imagine those voters putting them last as a kind of an FU, and probably vice versa. Like the coalition, maybe if they've stayed a coalition supporter now, probably thinking, well, bugger One Nation, I'm going to put them last as well. So
there's so someone said here this should be a wake-up call for ALP. I don't know whether, Sandra, you're talking about the federal party or the state party.
Probably both. Like it's.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you think.
Well, my whole channel is telling the ALP to wake up.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot. Look, let's start with the positive. Future Made in Australia is probably one of the best policies that they have. It's an industrial policy to sort of revolutionize manufacturing and clean energy in Australia, to bring our energy grid up to, world leading standards. If it rolls out properly, Australia could be the renewable energy superpower. Like we could be a major player.
Absolutely.
We can bring manufacturing back, good jobs. I'm going to have a few experts on in that area because energy, in all the research I'm doing at the moment, energy and the energy sector it's the gap between how interested I am and my knowledge is like this. So I'm rapidly educating myself. So back to the question of labor, again, the boring management. I saw someone comment maybe even half an hour ago about labor are the quiet achievers. I was like that as a person too. I'm pretty introverted. Especially in my work outside of this stuff, like psychology, I hate marketing that because it's like I want the work to speak for itself.
Yeah,
but what we've learned from Trump, Nigel Farage and Pauline Hanson and all the other, there's the dude in Argentina who was like a rock star or something, is the style trumps the substance, to no pun intended. But and this is what I'm saying is you need a match. It doesn't mean, I think people then go, they look at it in black and white, like, okay, then you just need to be all style and no substance. It's like Scott Morrison for ScoMo, Scotty from marketing, all style, no substance. It's like, no, substance and style. It's actually possible to have both. Kevin Rudd, Gough Whitlam, I would say Paul Keating. Those are probably the Mount Rushmore of Labor prime ministers. Maybe Bob Hawke. Okay. So the Mount Rushmore of Labor prime ministers is those four, because they paired up the substance and the strong management with the style. They changed Australia for the better in many ways, like with Medicare, superannuation, go through the list of all the things Labor's done. But Albanese doesn't have that, unfortunately. And Labor people could say, but they're doing the good management. It's like, great. Don't F it up and lose at the next election, because then it all gets undone. We saw that in 2013 with Tony Abbott. Tony Abbott, again, is an example, style with no substance. Tear it all down.
Are you saying, just to get you right, are you suggesting that that Labor are doing enough good things but failing to market them?
That's, if you wanted to put it in one sentence, that's correct. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. My claim to fame is being able to put things into one sentence.
Yeah, well, you did it well, Tony. And I think that when people tell me, they say to me, okay, how do they do that? I've said like many examples, but one could be people's, like visual imagery. Like, I always like the example that's just the most prominent from the 21st century is 9/11. We can all bring that immediately to mind, what happened on that day, where we were, what we were feeling, how it changed the world. Imagery is so powerful. The right wing use it all the time. The Trump assassination attempt, you were saying that's, you really ramped up your channel after that. And I'm sure one of the big reasons is that powerful imagery is one of the reasons that Trump got reelected, when his campaign was on life support at that point. Again, people forget Trump was polling so poorly. Biden was his own thing, but Trump was doing so poorly until that image came out of him, like raising the fist with the blood and all of that. So what I'm saying is Labor doesn't have to be that dramatic, but they need to at least do more than they're doing now. There's a podcaster called, YouTuber called Conrad from Punters Politics, did an interview with Tanya Plibersek, and he was asking her, she was sort of saying to him like about Labor's achievements, and Conrad was like, where do you guys mark, like, how could I see that? Like, can you tell me about it? And she goes, well, that's up to the voter. It's up to the voters to educate themselves. That's partly true, but I hate that approach. If that's Labor's approach to like the voters have to educate themselves, we're in a cost of living crisis. We're working two jobs, parents, we're students, parents. We got enough going on in our lives. It's not up to the voter to know every in and out of the policy. Labor have to put it out there more. I'll stop.
Where they expect people to be doing? They expect people to be watching Question Time, because if you watch, well, no one does. Well, I do, but no. You've got to watch Question Time, because it's there that the Dorothy Dixes are presented and the politicians talk about what they're doing, and it is extremely informative. Not to mention you watch. My friend Mr. Dick trying to coordinate a cat of herds, what's a good word for it? Turds, I should have used. A herd of cats, basically. So Milton Dick tries his best, but fails at every corner. But
I have, in terms of public servants, he's the one I have them. He's the only one in Parliament that earns his salary, having to deal with that raucous childcare centre.
So
he's the only one that earns that 300,000 or whatever he's on.
And as time goes by, I don't know if you ever watched it, but he is becoming, in the last sitting, he became more and more frustrated with them, particularly the Liberal Party, who wanted to stand up every opportunity and challenge every little fart that they did.
When a speaker does well, when the other party can't really even like criticize him for unfairness. Like, I don't think they've said a word against him, because he's very fair. He goes off, like, when I say goes after, like if they're breaking procedure or whatever, he doesn't just remember Bronwyn Bishop. They looked at like the amount of percentage she kicked people out, and it was like 80% Labor politicians.
Yeah. She was horrible, absolutely horrible. She's got the record. She's got the record for the number of people kicked out.
Yeah. And this is what I'm saying, right? She was appointed by Tony Abbott. We can't go back to that. That's what I tell my Labor people too. I'm on your side. We cannot go back to that. So we need to push forward. And I know they do. Yeah. Like, Albanese does do a lot of marketing. It's just that it's not the way I think gets through to these disaffected voters that are frustrated. I have announced, I don't know, which we should mention too here, Tony, the counter, it's almost been called for Labor. They're at 23 seats and they need 24 to win.
And I just wanted to have a look at the statewide. Statewide, it's a 4.7 swing to Labor, and Metropolitan is 7.4. Liberals have got 5 seats. One Nation still haven't got any. So I don't. That's probably not up to date because I'm a wee bit behind you. Because
I'm at 10%, and you're right. One Nation have overtaken Liberal on votes, but not seats. And this is the thing. Yeah, we've all been. Anyone who's politically engaged has been saying this, that hype doesn't always go to votes, and votes don't always go to seats. Any Greens, I think you have to have voted for Greens to fully understand that on an emotional level.
And we've had the unseating of a member in Hartley.
Okay.
Which is now a suburb. I think it's kind of close to the city in a way. And that is Jen Roberts got 58%. The current MP, Vincent Tazier, has only got 42. So
imagine if the rise of One Nation is what led to Labor doing even better.
That would be phenomenal. Absolutely,
that might mean Jacinta might get back in Victoria.
and how would Labor sort of equate that? I mean, how would they think about that in terms of their own election possibilities if that was to transpose itself into a federal election? They would be rubbing their heads together, surely.
I think at that point, Gina and Rupert and I'm trying to come up with the name, Gina Reinhardt's Lonely Hearts Billionaires Club Band. It's too long. Gina, Sergeant Gina's Lonely Billionaires Club Band. I think they would all do a meeting behind the scenes and go, we can't have this. So in a way, this happening in this election is kind of a bad thing because they'll learn their lesson maybe and then preference each other in Victoria and see if they can turn that around.
Yeah.
Because if the message of this election has been a vote for One Nation has essentially been a vote for the Labor Party. I mean, you know what? For most of those One Nation voters, they'll do better under Labor because most of them are workers. Because we haven't even gone through the One Nation policies that would absolutely decimate. The biggest contradiction with One Nation is they are for freedom. Apparently, it's all about freedom, libertarianism, blah blah blah. But all of their industrial policy takes away workers' freedoms. The right to disconnect from work, which means your employer can't harass you out of your work hours. Pauline voted against that. So she didn't even not show up for that one. She made sure to show up to screw over workers. Overtime pay, enshrining that in law, Pauline voted against.
Yep.
Basically, any industrial policy that benefits workers and
everyday Aussies. The Liberal Party.
Oh, yeah, but we know that for the Liberal Party. But One Nation talk as if they are for the vote. So in a way, them preferencing Labor over Liberals has actually helped them, even though they hate Labor on paper. They've actually voted in their own interest in this way, if this is what happens.
So I just wanted to bring up that the seat of Hartley is a swing towards Labor of 11.3. So we're seeing massive swings that come back to about 4 to 5% over time. So the question you and I need to be asking is, when are we going to dispense with this conversation? Because we can't go on all night. And do we want to wait until there's a declaration sort of thing?
Let's wait till the declaration for sure. It's 8:52 here. I'm happy to go till about 9:30. I can go for another half an hour, 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
You can.
Well, it's only 8:23 here, so I'm.
Yeah. So that would be go till 9 o'clock your time. I think that's fair.
I just want to record on my side. We've had 688 views so far, which is pretty good.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, I've got the live tracker. We've got 90 concurrent viewers right now.
All together?
From yours combined? And mine together.
That's fantastic.
And yours, you've got double. I'm contributing a third to that. You're contributing 2/3. So I'm doing my bit, but you're
doing magnificent, mate. I just did say to everybody, please subscribe to Nathan's channel because he is a winner, and it's fantastic just to make sure that you do subscribe to Nathan because he does some fabulous work. The work that you do, I think, is far different from mine in that you're a detail man.
I just thought we should probably link each other's. We probably haven't linked each other's channels in our comments. I should probably comment on your channel with my link.
Feel free.
I might do that. I was just bringing up the poll bludger just to see.
Someone asked, what is Nathan's channel?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They're
We don't even know how
suggesting
people
we
are
keep
watching. Like, who is
going.
this guy?
Stan at
Let's
Kangaroo
do this.
Island TV.
Let me
Stan, we will go for a
link
bit
my
as long
channel.
as you find it entertaining.
Yeah, I'm gonna comment on your stream, Tony, my channel. I should just pay you $2 so it goes up.
No, please don't. That would mean then I'll have to pay you $4 just to one up.
Yeah, and then we're paying tax. Okay.
Yeah. Then yeah, that's right.
I don't know if you can. People can click it. Oh, they can probably copy. I've just put the link into your chat, Tony, so people can copy that link. If you want to do that in my channel too.
My channel is
so you
the
can
right.
see my name has come up.
Pop the link in. Just pop the link in.
Yeah, pop the link in. Yeah.
So everybody could just switch. Can you switch? Oh, everybody on my channel can you switch over to Nathan and never come back to the Tony Tonkin show.
No, this is the thing. I know some.
Just leave me alone, Nathan. They're just going to isolate me, and it's not going to be fair.
Some YouTubers genuinely feel that way, and I try to tell them like it's not a pie that it's sliced up. It's like this grows. You know, people, if they like you and they like me, they can watch us both.
And it's not a competition.
It's not like a zero-sum game.
And it's not. We're not competing against each other. We are supporting each other.
I saw a commenter say it's been called, but I'm looking. The ABC hasn't quite done it yet.
Oh right, I haven't got that yet.
I mean, it's all. I mean, it's been called in the sense of like One Nation aren't going to get 24 seats.
23 to 5. Lib's got more than what I thought. One Nation going to come up with 0 by the looks of things. So this is where the preferences have come into play. The preferences, One Nation have stuffed up the preference selection in terms of the recommendations they needed to make because they chose not to.
One of my commenters, one of my subscribers, Issa, is in the comments saying, "Fantastic, great move, well done, Labor." You know the what's his name, Angus Taylor's quote from his social media. He commented on his own post. That's hilarious. Thanks for that comment, Issa. Yeah, great move, Labor. I mean, this is going to be hilarious if like the One Nation voters or preference Labor. What do we make of the Liberal Party holding? Like, I mean, it's kind of two stories. They've tanked. Like their swing has been 16.8% down, but they've still got 18.9% currently. They still have a loyal base, right? It's lower than it was under when they were in government, but there's still that 20% of diehard liberals that are going to see them through to the bitter end. It seems like.
Yeah, I think there must be some delight from. Can you pull up the Liberal seats that have been won? Is that possible?
So not yet.
Because
let's see if they've actually. Yeah, I can. It should come up. Yeah. Okay. They've got 2.
The Liberal Party should be happy that they will remain as the official opposition.
Yeah.
So our friend Miss Hearn should be delighted that she's going to maintain her position. What they should be dismayed at is that, well, they should be grateful they weren't decimated. They should be grateful that they have got some seats and can push back against Labor. Yeah. And One Nation should be particularly really disappointed.
This one's interesting, Tony. Stewart has been called for the Liberals, but it looks like the Liberal got 3rd and the Independent, Jeff Brock. Do we know anything about Stewart and Jeff? Or Leon seems to be well in front on preferences, but...
Which one's that?
Stewart? It's a really interesting thing that the Liberals are way out in front preference-wise, but he's running 3rd and like quite significantly 3rd in the sense that the Independents got 37% basically.
So the preferences are going from One Nation to the Independent? Is that what we're saying?
No, the Liberals at the moment, he looks like he's going to take it from the Independent, but he's coming 3rd.
Right. Okay. I can't explain any of that.
Anyone want to explain that seat to us? Yeah.
I need Mr. Briggs on the ABC to explain some of this stuff to me.
Yeah. I thought we'd just check in on Nicole. I don't know if Nicole, if you're watching, comment and we can send you the link. You can join us on the stream if you want for a bit of a chat. So it looks like
is Nicole there at the moment? Did she say?
I don't know if she's commenting. I haven't seen her comment. I was just seeing how she's doing. So in Hammond, she's a Greens candidate. She's getting 4.4, which is actually down 1.7, which is a little bit upsetting. But Labor's increased their vote there too. So maybe because a lot of the, I guess, the more lefty people, maybe because they saw the One Nation onslaught coming, that maybe some of those in-betweeners have gone over to Labor instead of Greens, maybe?
Maybe. We've got...
Or maybe the independents got less too, so...
See, the interesting thing for me, it has to be about preferences. Because at the moment, with 11.8 counted, One Nation at 21.3 and Liberals 17.8. So One Nation's first preferences outstripping the Liberal Party, but the Liberal Party have got a number of seats. So One Nation voters are supporting... One Nation voters may be supporting the Liberal Party and helping them get over the threshold, basically. And the Greens are at 10.8. So, and others are 11.2. So those independents seem to have done pretty well as well. Hence the reason why we've got one seat, I guess. And has it been called yet?
The election doesn't look like it. I'm trying to track down. We haven't looked at the Legislative Council yet, but they're always, it's like the Senate. They rarely, because I saw this was something I got distracted by. A Greens person rightly did say that, in federal, Greens are much more, their strength is in the Senate, because that's when, when you go statewide, the geography of the Greens being concentrated in the cities isn't as big of a factor. So that's why they have 11. I think it's still 11 seats in the Senate, maybe 10 now. Someone might fact check me, 10 or 11. I think it was 11 seats in the Senate federally. And but I'd like to see what they get in the Legislative Council in South Australia. Do we know what they had in the Legislative Council? They had 3 from 2022 in the Legislative Council. So I'd love to know how they're doing on that one.
So we've got, see this?
It's been called, Tony. All right.
It has. We've got
play. Let me.
What's the final call, mate?
Breaking news. Here, look, Tony. Look at this. Breaking news. The Labor Party will be returned to government officially.
Can we, Nathan? Do you think it's possible for us to get together at another time and do a breakdown?
Yeah.
When we've had a chance to analyse what all of this means, and perhaps start thinking about what does this mean for the Labor Party and the Liberal Party in the future, and the actual impact of One Nation, because One Nation haven't won a frigging seat at the moment, even though they've looked pretty good in some areas. I've got McKillop here, where they're at 37.4% of the vote. The independent McBride, who's the current member, is 21.1%, and Liberals at 23.3%. So, there are some analysis, I guess, that takes a bit of time to be able to sort of work our way through.
Yeah. We can do that in a couple of weeks, because we're doing our fortnightly stream. So maybe Tuesday, not this Tuesday coming, but a Tuesday after, and that'll have given time for those the early counting votes to all have come in, and we'll have a clearer picture then. So I thought you meant mental health breakdown, Tony, and I was going to say I'll probably have one of those tomorrow. So if you want me to film it, I can for everyone.
The longest session I've ever done, mate.
We certainly can on camera. Yeah,
it's the longest session I've ever done. So look, I just want to
over 2 hours now as well.
Yeah, I want to thank you so much for facilitating this wonderful event, and I want to thank all those people that have come on board and stayed with us throughout all of this. It's been quite fascinating. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, should we stay on for another half an hour and just see how things are going, or do you want to wrap it up now? I'm happy.
I think I might need to wrap it up before I fall asleep. All
right.
We could keep going. Do people want us to keep going for a little bit longer? Let's see what people say.
Can I put up a poll?
You can.
I probably can on my stream.
I can put it up on mine too.
Yeah. Let's put up a poll. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I'll put one up.
I'll just say keep going for half an hour.
Someone just gave us $50.
All right, I've just started a poll on mine. It's like keep going for another half an hour, yes or no.
I'll put it up here.
Some people are commenting already, keep going, so okay. I do, that's the other thing with live streaming, Tony, is like the people that stay and watch us are people that want us to keep going, I guess. So we kind of like self-selected our own crowd, which is good. I think it's good.
So thanks. I just want to thank Rob for the $50. Really greatly appreciated, buddy. I really appreciate that. 100% are saying yes, I'll keep the track of the poll. 10% saying no. That's 10 votes we've had already. So we will push on.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. But what I realized is like we've kind of self-selected, because if people are staying on watching us at this point, why would they'll just stop watching rather than say no. But yeah, mine's at 92% as well. So we'll keep going for a little bit. Maybe till 9:30 Melbourne time.
And those people that don't want us to continue on, well, you can just stop watching, I guess.
Well, I'd be interested. Look, this is a serious. This might sound like I'm joking when I start saying it, but I actually want to interview one. Like, I've been reaching out to some One Nation people, like in terms of supporters, because I really do. It's a fascinating psychology. Can
you just bring up you for a second, just while I leave? I just got to go and just grab a quick bite.
Yeah. I'll talk one-on-one. Yeah. Just tell me when you're in, Tony. We can hear you, so if you start talking, we'll know you're there.
Yeah.
You're off the camera now, but
okay.
Yeah. No, so I'm interested in the One Nation voters in terms of like what they're going to take from this, and are they going to keep supporting? Because if they flop in terms of seats, that's going to be really interesting in terms of where it's going to go from here. Because I'm sure that they're going to claim victory in terms of the votes, that they've turned it around and now they're probably going to come in second. But what does that mean if it doesn't then convert into any seats? And if they've now realized maybe that they've helped Labor, where does the One Nation train go from here? Because I think the next thing, the next election is a Victorian one. And the support of One Nation in Victoria is much more concentrated in the regions, as far as I've seen. So if it's 2 flops in a row, not that it's going to be over, but will they just drop back down and people will come back to the coalition? You there, Tony?
Yeah, I'm back, mate.
Yeah, there we go. Chuck you back in. Yeah, I can see you, but the audience couldn't then. So I saw you come back. I was like,
I just asked my wife to get me something to eat so I could last longer.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up in 23 minutes. Okay. We'll hit a 2.5 hour stream. That'll be the record.
Yeah. Anything longer than 6 minutes is a record for me, mate.
So I don't know if you caught much of that, Tony, but I feel like we're going to get 2 different messages. We're going to get look at One Nation's vote and how well we did, but then you're going to get Labor and rightly so, the Greens and all that. Like, well, it didn't convert into seats. So yeah, you're second in place now. Well done. But where it stands right now, they're actually third in place for seats if you go with the Liberals and the Independents. It looks like 2 independents are back in. Labor hasn't called that yet, but and yeah, look, it hasn't wrapped up, so this might all sound, if we do a wrap up in 2 weeks' time and it turns out that One Nation did get more seats than Liberals, then I'll shut up. But what does it seem like to you that, okay, second party in terms of votes, but no seats out of that, or minimal seats?
Just preferences have definitely defined how this election is turning out. Given that One Nation, that the Labor Party were going to win, it was always going to be a massive win, whatever. They've had a swing their way, which is encouraging for the Labor Party, I guess, and that One Nation, regardless of a really strong showing in certain seats, have not been able to produce the goods. And so one has to ask, and One Nation need to ask, why is it that there's been all this, and look, mate, there's been this continual flurry of events and flurry of, like, as I said earlier, Sky News have been pounding One Nation over and over again. There's been nothing but the One Nation TV channel, and they've been incessantly pushing. Now, what benefit has that demonstrated for One Nation? Zero. Absolutely zero. And as we said earlier in our broadcast, does that mean then now that One Nation have kicked out the ABC from their headquarters tonight, that they're going to declare that this was all foul play? Like, where is this going to go ultimately?
Yeah.
Because it's in a sense, I think it's been a disaster for One Nation as well.
Yeah, I've just found the Legislative Council results, which are telling as well, because I've seen people going back and forth in the comments about the Greens as well, trying to do the same thing of claiming victory but not having seats. I don't know you might educate us on this, Tony, if you know, or some voter in the comments. I definitely don't know how the quota is calculated for South Australia, because it's some kind of like you get 100,000. I think federally it's like there's a certain number and you divide it by 7 and you have to get 0.5 or whatever it is. It's like a weird maths that you figure out to get your quota. But where it looks like it's landed at the moment, again, 0.4% counted, but Labor's on 3, One Nation's on 3, Liberals on 2, and Greens on 1 at the moment.
Sorry, what's that for again? Sorry, I was just having my tea delivered to me.
What was that all right? The Legislative Council. So like the the Senate-y kind of thing. So Labor's on 3, One Nation's on 3, Liberals on 2, and Greens on 1.
All right. Greens are on 1. That sounds kind of what one would expect. I expected 2 or 3 from One Nation. And does that mean, and it's a half election as well? So remember, there's still all those other people from before, so it's not a full election.
It's 11 out of 22. Yeah.
11 out of 22, yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at the change, so One Nation's up, so they're on 27% in the Legislative Council, and that's up 22.8%, I think. 22.9, sorry. And then Labor's down 5.7. Liberals are down 12.8. So the Liberals, the story of the night is the Liberal Party's just collapsed. There's no doubt about that. But one thing again, the Greens, if you see, Tony, it's a kind of a comical number. It's like 0.3. I don't know how many zeros. I'm going to count them actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So they're on 0.3, 13 zeros, 1. So I don't know how they calculated that micro number, but the Greens vote-wise across elections are very stable because they only went down 0.2% in the federal election. That's the House of Representatives. But in this one, the Legislative Council, they've only gone up 0.3%. And, I will say, having been a Greens member, Green members and supporters are not known for their mental stability, but their electoral stability is pretty impressive. That they don't tank. Like the Greens never really lose votes overall, and they never really gain them either. So the other story of the night is like the Greens just always seem to just hit. You can pretty much reliably guess the Greens are going to get between 9 to 12%, except maybe Tasmania.
I'm just trying to work out what's the percentage. Someone should be able to tell me.
And see, look, for Labor people, I'm roasting the Greens as well. I'm not a secret Greens guy. I would like to see the Greens do better. Like I do think the way the Greens could do better is through other minor lefty parties like Animal Justice and whatnot. But again, those don't really poll. Like Animal Justice is on like 1.3 in the Legislative Council. So yeah.
So look, it's the percentage required is 8.3% of the vote.
Which one was that? Sorry.
8.3% of the vote.
Greens.
No, for the Legislative Council.
Ah, right. Yeah.
So for 2 seats, we need 16.6.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll come back to that. That's very early. Now, so Labor are just dominating. I've got the seats called again, Tony, and now Labor's at 28. So yeah, I mean, I've said there's like about 5 different stories of the nights. The real story of the night is Labor dominated, and Peter Malinauskas is now probably a demigod of Labor, I guess. Is he the most highly polled premier? He's got to be the most popular in Australia.
He's definitely the most popular, without doubt.
Definitely the most popular, yeah. Because I know Chris Minns, but he kind of, the whole Bondi thing.
Chris Minns is on the nose now.
Well, he did. There was like a week after the Bondi where he kind of everyone loved him, and then I don't know what happened. I'm not a New South Wales guy.
Well, he brought in the legislation in relation to gun control, and then brought in that stupid free speech legislation.
Yeah, that's right.
He's going to have his own royal commission, and then that fell over because the Labor Party, and the federal did their own thing. And I think he overreached, basically.
Mm.
So yeah, and as a result of all that, and he's moved forward. I don't see Chris Minns anymore as a centralist, though. I see him more as someone who's just moved further and further to the right to be popular in the moment, which is a mistake that often politicians make. You know, like it'd be like watching the Labor Party federally decide that they don't want to be centrist or progressive. Not that they're progressive, another story, but they certainly want to move further and further to the right to equate for one nation. And so, so one of the issues then that needs to crop up is, given the election results here in South Australia, what does that mean in terms of the Labor Party and where they care to position themselves to win over one nation's vote? Maybe the reality is they realise they don't have to do anything. Maybe the Liberal Party, though, are starting to think that maybe they need to become more one nation light in order to bring about the first preference votes that they need in order to capture seats from one nation. Does that make sense?
I'll give you two answers to that. The first one is, I think you're 100% right on what Angus Taylor federally, the message he's got out of that. Mm-hmm. That's what they're trying to do. They're going to be one nation light. The message they're taking is our voter base has moved right, so we need to move right to get them back. The problem is One Nation are always going to outdo them on that, always. They're never, because unless the Liberals do that and then they lose more, then we'll double the amount of teals, because any moderates will just probably never vote Labor, but also probably never vote One Nation. So they'll just go to teals. And then that'll kill the party. So my opinion on what you said is that's the worst message they can take. I think they're taking it, but I think what Turnbull said is 100% right. And if anyone doesn't know, what Turnbull's been saying lately in the media is there's a market there for a centre-right party.
Yep.
There is desperation. And I would say that, like, my Conservative family would probably all vote for that party. I don't think they'll vote for Teals because of anything that's slightly progressive they don't like. That's just how Conservatives are, which is fair, if that's what they believe. But there's definitely a market for a centre-right party to come in and do basically what One Nation's done now and just steal what's left of the Liberal Party. Because the Liberal Party are going to go, all right, we're going to just become One Nation. Well, I reckon that 20% of Liberal voters that still remain are never going to go to One Nation because they would have done it this election.
Do you think
they're waiting for maybe not a Tony Abbott? Who could they, like a Turnbull would be perfect, but he's too old. Susan Lee couldn't do it. I don't know if you can name anyone in the comments, any sort of centre-right federal politician. I think, no, you know who it is? Josh Frydenberg. And I know the Labor hate him, and that's fine. I hate him too. In terms of as a politician, I don't know what he's like as a person.
What about Julian Lesser?
Politics. He's the only one who could bring that centre-right party back. Will he do it? I have no idea. But that's why my Monique Ryan haters, I caution that, because she is so much more progressive, especially socially, not economically. I understand, but she needs to keep her seat, because if Frydenberg gets back in, Frydenberg is like the iceberg for the Labor Party. 2031, if Frydenberg's a leader, he may topple Chairman Albo. Well, at that point, it might be Chalmers, but that's kind of the narrative I think is happening. That Liberals are exactly what you're saying, Tony. They're going to take the message to go further right. Oh, they've just taken it off the Independent. Did you see that?
No.
They took it from the Independent and gave it to Labor. So Labor's on 29 now.
Oh, shit. Because I think, I was just going to ask you though, do you think that the Teals are left of centre, slightly right in terms of being moderates, I guess, or progressive? How do you see them?
So I can't, the problem is because they're not a party, they're individuals, they're independents. It depends on the teal and it depends on the policy. So Monique Ryan, and when I say Teals, I often mean Monique Ryan because I don't, except for Allegra Spender, who I've been following with her tax proposals and a few other things, especially because of Bondi, that happened in her electorate. So, and I like her as a person. She seems to be, I know that I don't put too much weight on people as their personalities, but I do like Allegra Spender's style. But Monique Ryan she used to be, she's had an interesting history politically, but she is advocating for a lot of things that I support, especially in healthcare. Because for me, being a mental health worker and knowing that system, and she was in that system, and it shows because of what she advocates for. Like, she even goes further than me. She would remove the cap on Medicare for mental health to have it like no limit on sessions, like the 10 session limit now, dental on Medicare, a whole range of other things. They are pretty center right on workers' rights and a lot of industrial policy. But then again, they did vote with Labor on Future Made in Australia. They vote with Labor about 50% of the time, which I don't know, people would say that's high or low, depending on the policy. But they do vote with the Greens. Well, Monique Ryan votes with the Greens, like I think 60 or 70% of the time. And the Greens then in turn vote with Labor about 85% of the time. So it really depends. Like, I'm kind of rambling, but it really depends on the policy that you speak of, because they are pretty much, they're tree Tories, like in the UK. They're pretty socially progressive. They're progressive on some aspects like healthcare and education. So they are for public funding of a lot of things, or a hybrid model in terms of funding for a lot of those things. So at least they don't, like what the coalition do, that want to privatize everything. They don't go that far.
Yeah.
And that's why I try and say it's so much better in Kooyong to have Monique than Josh, because Josh would just decimate the public service like they already did.
Oh, we would.
Atil wouldn't do that. Atil would not be great on a lot of things, but they would not decimate.
I apologize to our audience for still having tea, but I was so famished. I had to get because I was anyway. I think that if you watch Question Time and you have a look at the questions being asked by Labor, Liberal, and then the Teals, the only questions that ever make sense that relate specifically to their constituents comes from the Teals and the Independents. And I put Wilkie in that category as well.
Yeah, well, Wilkie is kind of he takes Climate 200 money, so he's a Teal. He's a back end Teal. Like, he was an independent way before Climate 200 and the Teals were a thing, but he's aligned with them on a lot of. Well, climate change is a whole other thing too. That's the big thing, right? That they at least believe in climate change and at least evidence based on that. That in turn should put them above any liberal or conservative who doesn't believe in climate change. That's what I was saying. My argument for like that centre-right party, like a Turnbull Teal party or whatever they're going to call it, at least imagine Albanese and Turnbull debating how much do we invest in clean energy, as opposed to what we have to frickin' do now. And we have an opposition that doesn't even believe in climate change.
Yeah.
At least Dutton said it's real in the debate. That's fair. He said climate change is real, but they deny the human element to it, that humans have any impact on it. Or they say, because we're Australian, we're such a small country, we don't need to do anything about it. Look at China and the US. But it's like, that's why it's a global thing, right? And the Teals at least believe in that. That's what I'm saying, is like, you don't have to love the Teals. And as I've said, I don't even know if I'd vote for a Teal. But the way it works is, as you know, you're saying, Tony, like Labor, Liberal, Teal. I don't think, unless someone wants to correct me, there's been any seat that's had a genuine three-way race between Labor, Teals, and Liberals. But if I had to rank it, I would of course say Labor would be better than a Teal. But the problem is the Teals came about because there wasn't a Labor option in those seats. So, what can you do?
I think there's a toss-up for me between Teals and Labor.
Well, it depends on, and again, that's because they're independents. It depends on what they focus on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on who they are and their level of integrity, I reckon.
But they're not. The thing with the Teals, the last message on the Teals, is they're not as much of a threat as I think Labor think they are, because they rarely go after Labor seats. They rarely take Labor voters, unless those Labor voters, which one of my best friends who I've done a video on my channel, he still voted for Labor, but he preferenced Monique Ryan because he lived in her seat. So that's the thing, is like Labor does well in the Senate in those areas because people go, all right, I'll vote for the independent who's way better than a Liberal, and I'll put Labor in the Senate. So they're not that much of a threat as Labor think. And they're much better. If we had a Teal party, we could at least have an evidence-based discussion about climate change. Imagine that.
That's true. And maybe that may eventually come about. Who knows? They might get their heads together. The other thing I will say about Teals, though, is that if you watch Question Time and you see the way Albanese addresses the Teals versus the way he used to, no Greens really there at the moment, but he used to put down the Greens all the time. Like the Greens.
No, he hates the Greens, yeah.
were the enemy. And the Teals were those people that he believed he could work the best with. And he's probably right. I mean, I didn't like the way he spoke to the Greens and stuff. But nevertheless, he sees them as the enemy, the Greens. And the Teals, so that probably indicates that they're probably more moderate so they're more workable than the Greens, who were too progressive for Albo.
The Greens pick the wrong fights, and I'm seeing we've got Labor and Greens members fighting, which I love. The Greens, I've said this, like, I'm not a Greens member anymore. I renounced my membership because they pick the wrong fights. They should focus on the economic issues and work. Because when you are a minor party or an independent, you're not in power. So you don't get to call the shots. You get to propose policies. You get to have your say, but you don't torpedo Labor's good policy because you want great. You can argue about it.
No.
You can argue about it, but you don't kill it in order to prove a point. And that's what Greens did. And that's why I was very frustrated with them. And I think a lot of them are. A lot of us non-Labor lefties are like, yeah, we're not advocating for that. But what I'm saying, but then the problem is Labor then sort of still puts the block up to go, they're still so acrimonious towards the Greens. It's almost like they go, well, the Greens are going for dental and Medicare, so we're not going to even talk about that, because then that almost gives the Greens. Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly why they do it. They probably say it's more economically unfeasible, which it's not. But anyway, we've gone down a road, Tony. We've got 4 more minutes. What's the takeaway from the South Australian election?
I just want to say that my friend Multi-Optional says Murdoch News 24 highlights Cory Bernardi winning. I think they're taking credit for that. Okay. And I'll be doing a post tomorrow on the election result. Just to recap, but I will be having a look specifically at the way the Sky News and the right-wing media in particular are reporting the results, because I can guarantee you, Nathan, they will be distorted out of their little pants. They will be. I think that in my recap on this election is it was pretty predictable, except predictable in terms of where the ALP were going to be. Unpredictable in terms of the Liberal seats that have been gathered, which is 4 at the moment, I think. And it's been unpredictable, but understandable that One Nation haven't gained any seats at all. And I can tell you, if that winds up being the case, I will be delighted. What about yourself? How about a summary from you?
Well, I've put up the new Labor demigod. He's going to take some of the shine away from Malinaskis. Look, it's no doubt that he dominated this election. You don't want to take away the fractioning of the right-wing parties, take away the credit from what he's done. I've watched some of his interviews in the last few weeks, sort of leading up to the election, to get a sense of his style. He could be an example of, I know a lot of the time premiers stay in the state and they don't jump federally, but maybe he's the kind of Labor politician that I'm looking for, that can kind of pull together. Because the thing that I think appeals me about him, that from what I've learned, is that he doesn't pick those. Like, I don't think he said anything about the Greens. It seems like he's just stuck to his message rather than picking fights with the left. Because that's one thing I don't like about Albo, seeing the Greens as the enemy. And that's not true, because, again, 9 out of 10 Greens, it's like 9 out of 10 dentists. 9 out of 10 Greens vote Labor, ultimately, in the end. So I'm going to look more into Malinaskis and probably maybe I'll do some videos on him or follow that, because essentially he's been given a mandate. I don't know if they're going to win by more seats, but if he does pull off like an Albo, maybe he's sort of the future of the Labor Party.
Yeah, they are. But he already had a mandate. He's got another one. He can do whatever he likes, I guess. And I agree. My wife believes that he's going to be Prime Minister one day, and he's young enough to make that leap.
I wouldn't be against that. Like it's, the one thing last issue we hadn't even touched on it was like, the Adelaide Writers Week.
Oh, I was just thinking of that.
But you know what? Yeah. He was on a podcast called the Batuta Talks, which is there's a Batuta Advocate, which is like a comedy website like The Onion in the US. And he brought it up at the end because the guys hadn't brought it up, and they do very like non-confrontational interviews. So I was waiting for them to bring it up, and they didn't the whole interview. And he mentioned it at the end as it was something that he reflected on. He said in the moment he truly believed that was the right thing to do, and he realized that it wasn't, and he reflected on it. That's the kind of politician I like. They can admit that they were wrong, or they can change their mind.
I haven't heard him. Well, I wished I'd seen that because I've been angry at him for doing it.
I don't know if it's true. He might be a politician.
Yeah, because he did the wrong thing. He listened to the right-wing Zionist lobby and took a decision based on what they were saying to him. So I have a thing right at the moment about IDF, Israel, and Zionism.
So, I know you do, Tony. I watch it and I love it.
Yeah. So anybody who listens to those bastards and who takes heed of what they have to say is just shameful, in my view.
Look, I think what it comes down to is like, the phrase from like James Carter, like the 90s and Bill Clinton, like, it's the economy, stupid. It's the bread and butter issues. It's like, this is the message the left need to take, is the focus. Again, it's not that social issues aren't important, but the right wing are so much better because that's all they focus on, the culture wars.
Yeah, true.
If an election becomes about that, and we're seeing this in Victoria, when they get pulled into that, they lose. The left loses. When it's if the Premier has managed the state well economically and can speak to that record, and they focus on that, if the election's about that, then they win. And that's what I think for Victoria looking ahead, that's what my real worry is. Like, if it's that crime culture war election, Jacinta Allen's going to lose. If it's an infrastructure election and all the things they've delivered on for the state, then they'll win. But it's literally 50-50 now, Tony. It might even be 45-50 to Jess Wilson and the Liberals. So who knows?
Do you think One Nation will now move to have preferential voting canned?
Well, there is, there's actually an election before the Victoria one. That's another test. The Farah election in New South, Susan Lee's seat.
Yep.
That'll be interesting because there's a guy called Topher Field. He's like this right-wing intellectual YouTuber.
You've had him on your channel, didn't you? Did you interview him?
No, I messaged him. He never responded. No, because he's in a bubble. Like, he would not want to chat with me because I would just like dismantle his arguments. But he's done videos on preferential voting because I think this is something a lot of Aussies don't understand, is how it even works. And these One Nation voters who are suddenly all engaged, they probably had no idea that putting Liberals under Labor had that effect. That inadvertently has made Peter Malinauskas like a Greek god. He's Greek, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
He's in the pantheon.
Yeah, he is. All right, mate. We better go.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, thank you everybody. You've been absolutely delightful. A host of people have been online. So I think with your views and my views, is a total of 1,000. So that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, people have dropped in and out as we've chatted. So
they do.
We got 200. I got the stats there. 257 comments. How good is that? That's an engaged audience there.
Absolutely brilliant. And of course, as always, our audiences have been exceptional. So thanks everybody, and thanks for those people that have contributed something through the chat as well in terms of dollars.
Yeah. The contributions are great. One last thing as well for people that are engaged and watching. Once we finish this, click on the video again, because then it gives us another view. And if you comment, because this live chat is good, but if you comment on the video again, it helps it push it out to then people who weren't able to watch it live now. So if you want to help us push it out to the people who are going to watch it tomorrow or this week, give it a like and a comment on the actual video after we stop the stream, and that'll help the engagement. And then we'll be able to, we'll be like Rupert and Gina. We'll be able to fund the left. We'll be able to fund the counter to One Nation, whoever that ends up being.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. Thank everybody for being here.
Thanks everyone for joining. Have a good night, everyone.